Nii Borire is an award-winning neurologist, neuroscience researcher, neuroleadership expert, and executive coach who has a mandate to empower leaders to create personal, professional, and organizational change. He is also the director of Legacy Consults, a leadership development platform that equips leaders to improve their performance and inspire their teams to increase the productivity and profit of their organizations. Using evidence-based and bespoke neuroscience solutions, Nii has certifications in Neuroscience for Business from MIT Boston, USA, as well as the Neuroscience of Leadership from Enhancing Performance in Australia. He is also a John Maxwell Team Certified Trainer and Facilitator. Nii is the founder and host of Brain, Mind, and Change, an online series which combines his scientific background and leadership calling to teach people how to achieve mastery of their brain, rewire their mind, and change their world. He is also a squadron leader in the Royal Australian Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the host and convener of Legacy Conference 2022, Dr. Nii.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this platform. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad to be here. What's the time now? It's just 5 minutes past 6 on a cold Sydney morning. I am so glad that you're here. Thank you for registering for this webinar, the Neuroscience of Creativity and Imagination. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Elijah from Lagos, Ini Olua from where Ini says hi, guys. Let me know where you're connecting from. Oh, Timothy Cole, Timothy from Dallas, Texas. Thank you, Timothy, for joining. I'm so glad to see you here. Yes, thank you, Intentional Life Changes. Yes, Lady K from Paris. Amazing. Good to see you again. Felisabella from Chatham, England. Joanne from Jos, Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining me today. Esther from Texas. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for connecting. Please, you're free to share this link with your friends, with your neighbors, even with your enemies, anyone that you want to progress. Please share the link. Fee from Winnipeg, Canada. Thank you for connecting with me today. We're going to go very soon into the topic. Oluwadunsi from Kent, Hope Center from New Zealand. Wow, amazing. Thank you. So many people from all over the world. Eric Moore from Cambridge, Boston. Wow, amazing. Okpemi, all right, from Osun State. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Let me know where you're connecting from. Ayodeji from Lagos. Thank you. Ayodele from the UK. Thank you for connecting. Tony Collis from New Zealand. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be learning about the science of creativity and imagination. I'll be spending a lot of my time today on creativity, and I'm very hopeful that you will get so much value from this. If you can see me and hear me clearly, I'm loud and clear, and the feed is not breaking. Just say yeah, loud and clear, loud and clear, loud and clear, loud and clear. All righty, all right, we're ready. We are ready. So I will be going straight into the topic, the science of creativity and imagination. Yeah, thank you so much, Elijah, live and Claire. So over the last few years, I have just been pursuing this, this desire to understand how the brain works and how that can be applied to our everyday lives. All right, and how I can communicate that in a way that will make sense to you. And that's what I intend to do today. So this webinar is going to be very deep. All right, I'm going to be sharing some key concepts. And so this is science based. I'm not going to try to give you some motivational inspire to aspire stuff. This is real stuff, real neuroscience. And I'm hoping that I can communicate that effectively to you in a way that would make sense to you and in a way that you can translate. You can translate it into meaningful change in your life. That's the goal. The goal is that you're able to use these tools in your life, all right, so that you can be a better person, you can be more creative, you can be more innovative, you can transform your life, or you can set on your goal, your journey. All right, some of you have had great goals at the beginning of this year, and you're maybe finding it tough right now to really get your goals achieved. But yes, you still can. You still can. You just need to find creative ways of doing it. And so I want to talk about creativity from a different perspective, using my background as a neuroscience researcher and a neuroscientist to explain to you how the brain handles creativity and how you can leverage on the power of your brain to be more creative and to deliver the kind of results that you want to deliver. So please don't be selfish. Share this link with your friends, share with everyone else. Okay. Make sure that you get everyone to join the stream right now, all the people that you know. All right. So we're going to go into the topic right now, and I'm excited. All right, just hang in with me. We're going to be here for like maybe 90 minutes or longer, and I'm going to take questions, so please just feel free to engage, and let's go on in this amazing journey. Okay, so I'm going to try to share my screen right now. I'll be using a lot of slides today, so that's my style. I'll be using a lot of slides. All right, today. All right. So let us get on with our topic for today, which is the science of creativity. The science of creativity. So that's what I will be talking about today. The science of creativity. Fantastic. All right. So um, it's time to unleash your genius. It is time to unleash your genius. This is your time. This is your time. Now, let me start with a few assumptions, okay? I'm just going to try to put this right there, right now. Some false beliefs and assumptions that some of you may have now. There may be someone here who's saying, I'm not creative, so why am I here? What's this going to be about? I'm not creative. Some people believe that they're not creative. Some people feel that no, when you talk about creativity, that does not really apply to me. That doesn't speak to me. Some people will feel, I don't know how to be creative. All right, yeah, I'm creative, but I just don't know how to be creative. And for the others, they feel that, yeah, I am creative, but I just don't know how to express my creativity. I believe I'm creative, but I don't know how to show it. How do I express creativity? Or how can I translate that into, meaningful change in my life and in, the kind of projects that I'm doing right now. All right. And there's some other myths about creativity. Some people feel that creativity is just an inherent talent. All right. And so you inherit it. It's like a talent. You're born with it. If you're born to be a creative, then you're creative, And so yeah, I'm not born to be a creative, so I don't have to worry about this. All right. And that's not true. Creativity is not a fixed character trait. No, nor is it a reserve that we deplete as we grow older. No, creativity can be a learned skill. All right. Now, everyone has a measure of creativity in them, of course, just like any natural grace or gifting, it's in measures. All right. So we're not all the same. There are individual differences when it comes to expression of creativity. But one thing that you should understand today is that it is a skill that can be learned, can be practiced, can be improved like any other skill. And creativity on its own, I'm going to go into some depth of what are the components of creativity, because creativity is a componential trait. So it takes creativity takes something from your intelligence. It takes a little bit from your personality. It takes a little bit from your cognition. And when you mix all of that, a bit of your intelligence and cognition and your personality together, you get creativity. So creativity can be improved. It can be enhanced. You can be more creative. You are creative. Everyone that has a brain is creative. Everyone that has a brain is creative. So you've got, you that creative inherent ability, but it needs to be honed in. So might, some people may be specially gifted, some people may be born geniuses. Yes, we're going to talk about that later anyway. But it can be improved by education and training and your environment and about how motivated you are. All right, very important. And some other people think that creativity is only for technical people. Creativity is only for people who are in the arts. Well, that's not true. You need creativity in everyday life. All right, creativity is not just for geniuses. Creativity is for everyone, and you can enhance your creativity. You can improve, your creativity. You can improve the amount of creative ideas that you generate for your everyday life. And that's what I'm going to be telling you today. I'm going to be teaching you the effective arcs for generating insights and, bringing up creative ideas for everyday life in terms of your family life, your work, your business, or some of the other projects that you want to do. How can you be innovative? How can you be more creative? How can you become an ideas generator? Those are the things we will be sharing today as we go on. All right. So I've just highlighted some false beliefs, some assumptions, and some myths that a lot of people have, and some people think, oh, if you're, genius, then you're different, you're different. Now, let me tell you about this man who's probably the most revered, the most, celebrated intellectual icon of the 20th century. All right, Albert Einstein. In this man's golden year, in one single year, produced four stunning papers. One of them was the theory of relativity. Amazing man. Everyone believes this man is a genius or was a genius in his own time. All right. I was just interested in what this man's brain looked like. The good thing for us was that when he died in 1955 at the age of 76, Albert Einstein donated his brain. All right. He didn't die from a brain disease. He died from a ruptured aortic aneurysm. So on the day of his death, his brain was harvested by his pathologist in Princeton University, and it was sliced. It was cut into different pieces. But before it was cut, it was weighed, it was measured, it was properly analyzed. All right, and this is Albert Einstein's brain. What if I told you that Albert Einstein's brain only weighed about 1.23 kilograms, and its dimensions was not different from any other brain? In fact, when it was broken down into all the different components, both the microscopic and macroscopic components, it was not different from the average healthy human brain. There was nothing so special about his brain. After all, Albert was a human being like us. All right. There's nothing wrong with your brain. There's nothing special with your brain. All right. There was nothing really special about his brain. All right. His brain weighed about the same. It was as long as any other average human man's brain. That was just it. So you don't have to knock yourself down too much. All right. You've got to understand that everyone has that capacity to be creative. So now let me go into some um, definitions. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. As I said, I will be using a lot of slides and pictures. So please, once again, share this link with your friends and get people here. All right. We're going to be going in for some real stuff right now. All right. So let's go. What is creativity? All right, let's start with that. What is creativity? Creativity is the ability to produce work that is number one, novel. All right. Uh, when I say novel, I mean original and unique. You can see that on the screen. So creativity is novel, producing work, ideas, solutions that are novel and original. All right. And that is useful within a social construct or context. So creativity is all about producing ideas, producing solutions, not just any solution. Number one, it's novel, original, unique. So you're producing unique solutions that are useful. All right. And the usefulness of those ideas are defined by the social construct or the social context in which those ideas are produced. And you'll understand what I mean by that. So any creative idea is unique, original, and it is useful. So when defining creativity, we define it from those two angles. All right. It's originality and its usefulness. All right. Creativity is rooted in its originality. All right. In its novelty, in its uniqueness, and in its usefulness, in the value that it creates to the people that are exposed to it. All right. So let me just give you a few examples. I've been studying about creativity, and if you're going to study about creativity, you've got to study the lives of people who you believe are creative geniuses. Okay. And so I'm just going to highlight, some very key points from what I've learned from four amazing individuals who I call them four creative geniuses. Okay. Four amazing people who, did great things. And I'm going to extract a few things to just explain what creativity is in this context. Okay. Let's start with Leonardo da Vinci, a polymath. I've been privileged to be in the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican before, and to see this man's amazing work. This man was a painter, he was a sculptor, he was an architect, an engineer, an inventor. A polymath indeed. He was a scientist, he was a philosopher. All right. He created many masterpieces. And of course, the most popular, the most valuable painting ever painted, the Mona Lisa, was his handiwork. This man was a creative genius. We all agree about that. All right. What about this man, William Shakespeare, who wrote, some of the most iconic and influential plays and poems in English language? All right. He generally created words, plays like Hamlet, Macbeth. He invented hundreds of new words. He expanded the vocabulary, introduced phrases that had never existed before. William Shakespeare. Or what an amazing creative man this man was. What about Marie Curie? Marie Curie discovered polonium and radium, and she won two Nobel Prizes, the first person to ever win two Nobel Prizes, one in physics, one in chemistry. What an amazing woman she was. All right. She was the first one to develop mobile X-ray units to be used in war. And that was in World War I. And finally, I'll talk about this amazing man, Mozart. Mozart composed over 600 works of music. Amazing man. He was a music prodigy who started composing music at the age of 5. Mozart. And throughout Europe, the royalty, nobility across Europe respected him and is regarded as one of the greatest, you know, musicians or music composers ever. Now, I took time to study the lives of these four people, and there were four interesting things I saw about their life, four attributes of creative ideas that I picked from them. Number one, their ideas were novel and useful. Every new thing they brought, every event or movement they created, all right, was backed by ideas that were novel and useful, either for their individual lives or for their societies. Number one, the ideas challenged previously held beliefs. And sometimes they were not regarded or respected initially, but the ideas challenged the convention, the norm. So the ideas were not just novel, the ideas were provocative. It was challenging. Yes, the ideas were positively provocative. All right. The ideas were positively provocative. You could not just sit down and not wonder about William Shakespeare's, plays and not be positively provoked. All right. And their ideas clarified problems that were originally vague. That's what I noticed about them. That the ideas were novel and useful, they challenged previously held beliefs, they were positively provocative, and they clarified problems that were originally vague, and sometimes even exposed problems in society that were not present before. Now, going deeper into this whole topic of creativity, I will talk about creativity from three different dimensions, and I call them types of creativity. Okay, we're building up into the science of creativity. Okay, the types of creativity, different types of creativity. All right. And I'm going to explain this to you and make it as simple as possible so that you can understand clearly. We're going to talk about the different types of creativity. Just a second. Yeah. Fantastic. So, the first one is combinational creativity. All right. And this is the most common form of creativity, is the one that is often recognized, that we're often familiar with. And what is combinational creativity? It is the generation of unfamiliar combinations of familiar ideas. So, one way you can be creative, and probably the most common way we are creative, is by bringing in familiar ideas, familiar objects, arranging them together, combining them together in unfamiliar ways. All right. And by far, some of the greatest ideas that have ever been generated by creators have been, through this method of or type of creativity, where you're not producing anything that is completely new. You're using things that exist, bringing them together, connecting them together in a way that is unfamiliar but is useful. Remember that for you to have a creative idea, or for you to use the word creative, we're talking about creativity now from two dimensions. It's usefulness. So every creative idea is useful, and it's value, and it's novel or original. All right. But now the originality of an idea is in its usefulness. So you can use existing structures and existing ideas, put them together in an unfamiliar way that will make it unique, different, but it's still very useful. Combinational creativity. And if there's anything that I would really provoke you to really pursue today, would be, leveraging on this type of creativity to make a difference in your life. Combinational creativity. Okay. So it's using existing objects or ideas, but you combine them in a novel way. I'm going to give you a few examples of this. All right. Now, this work of art that you're seeing on the screen right now, this work of art was an award winning work of art. all right, in the UK, all right, and it was just painted by someone who did not really, it wasn't, there wasn't an event, there was no sort of there was nothing original in its essence in this. All the images here were just usual images, but it's a collage of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this person put up this artwork, and what you can see here is combinational creativity. All right. Putting the royal family, the queen, late queen with a mask, and how kids were stuck at home, and and medical people, healthcare people, and the tissues that we had during the shortage of tissue paper, during COVID-19, and putting that together in artwork. This is creative. And this is an example or a form of, yeah, a form of combinational creativity, combining familiar items together to produce something that is unique and different. And this was an award winning work of art. What about this amazing book of poems by T.S. Eliot, where he was using a lot of vivid and figurative language to express ideas? All right, or political cartoons. We see it all the time in our newspapers, where this cartoonists will bring in different ideas and different people, merge them together to produce something stunning and captivating. All right, let's not go into the politics of this, but I'm just trying to illustrate a point that when you put familiar people together in a cartoon and you've tried to pass a message, you can do it in a very creative way that will be unique and different. But if you break down the elements of the work of art or the expression that that person is trying to express, they're not inventing anything new. They're just using existing structures in interesting ways that would resonate with people. Okay. What about in education? How we describe the heart as a pump, the, you know, the description of the circulatory system. All right, and the kind of examples and the analogies that we use. Analogy is one of the ways of using combinational creativity in language, where we compare the heart to a pump, and we use that to teach. All right, in a way that makes sense to people. So those are examples of creativity. Let's look at a few more examples of combinational creativity. All right, there's this company in Australia called Airtasker. All right, and very interesting how I've used this company before, and I was really impressed by what the founders of this company, what they've done. So what they found was what they decided to do, or what they did in 2011, 2012, was to turn casual work for everyday tasks into a business. So these guys just got a new job. The two of them, they got new jobs in Sydney, and they couldn't um, move all their stuff into their new apartment, so they needed help. And what they realized was that there was a gap. They saw a gap there that was really hard to find people that can help them move their stuff. So some common everyday tasks, very hard to find people. And I'm sure in whatever country you're in, you'll find some, maybe a similar kind of company. But this, two young boys in their late 20s built, a massive company that is now worth over hundreds of millions of dollars. All right. And is listed on the stock exchange from that spark of creativity. That yes, we can turn casual work for everyday tasks into a business, and then get people, create an online platform for people to look for this kind of people, to look for, oh, I want someone to walk my dog. Oh, I want someone to pick up my meal. I want someone to accompany me to a festival. I want someone to do, casual everyday thing. All right. Everyday jobs. And they created that. And whether they copied it from another country or they found it somewhere else, well, they they were able to combine existing structures, the online platform, and their background in technology into a business that is that has transformed their lives and is felt all over the country. All right. The last website I built, or yeah, one of the websites I built, I found someone on Airtasker to build my website. I wanted to do a video some time ago for one of our organizations, and I found someone on Airtasker to do it for me. All right. So the truth of the matter is that you can look around you. You don't need to invent something new. Combinational creativity is about looking at what exists, putting them together in a creative way. So what these guys combined is casual work for everyday tasks on an online platform. They didn't invent any of these things. They combined them together in a creative way, and that's an amazing business. All right. What about, Netflix and Blockbuster? I'm sure you've heard about this story over and over again, but it amazes me. All right. Blockbuster, this massive, gigantic American company, was just renting out DVDs and VCRs. All right. So what did they combine? They combined the rental market with DVDs and VCRs. Combinational creativity. People usually buy VCRs and DVDs, or they learn from their neighbors. Like, you know what? Why not let us build a library of VCRs and DVDs? All right. And we'll tap into this rental market and we'll bring it together. We combine VCRs and DVDs with the rental, idea of renting. Bring it together. Two different domains: VCR, DVDs, renting. Bring them together. Rental video store. And of course, Netflix came along, and Netflix tried, initially to do something different. All right. So Netflix brought online service, no stores, no physical stores, online service plus DVD, renting DVDs. We will post it to you. Order online. You don't have to come to our store. We'll put it in the mailbox and we'll post you your DVD. You return it to us. And then very quickly, Netflix adapted. So online service, now video on demand and streaming, and then subscription. So Netflix did not invent any of those. In fact, initially Netflix had no content. They didn't own any of the content. Now that of course, they produce their content now, some of their content now. But it was about using existing videos that other people have produced, all right, with streaming that they didn't invent. They didn't invent the internet, all right. But video on demand streaming, all right. Let's create that platform for people to watch videos with a subscription. Combinational creativity. If you look around you, you will find familiar elements that you can combine in an unusual way, in a unique way for your own social context. Remember, creativity is not just about dreaming up anything, it's about combining, it's about creating value. Creativity is about creating useful, novel ideas for your social context. And it may be in your family. You can have a creative way of communicating with your kids, a creative way of engaging your family members, a creative way of engaging your community members, a creative way of leading your team. You can be more creative than you've ever been. And you can improve your creativity, not just in the area of business now. It can be in any different, in any other way. I hope I'm communicating with you. All right. And so that was what Netflix does. And now Netflix has added content creation. So not only are they an online platform, they brought the online service with the video on demand and streaming, with a subscription, which they keep increasing and increasing, inflation. And now they're creating their own content. All right. What about the rental market? Look at the idea of the rental space. All right, now you can rent anything. I can rent out this jacket. I can rent out my glasses. There's absolutely nothing you cannot rent out. You can rent anything out. That's someone's idea of, okay, you know what? Let's create a platform where people can rent things out. All right. And we'll charge them a subscription, or you would take a percentage of the profits. That's combinational creativity. I read the story of Pringles, and Pringles really amazed me. And what was Pringles? It's combinational creativity. Let's get potato chips in a stackable tubular can. So we get them in a tubular can, and we stack them up. All right, potato chips. They didn't, when Procter and Gamble brought this out on the potato chip, they were trying to address consumer complaints that the existing potato chips would break easily and it will become greasy, blah blah blah. That's why they developed this saddle-shaped chip. All right. So the Pringle chip is a saddle-shaped chip, all right, which addresses the problem of breaking easily. And by stacking it in that tubular container, all right, you buy a box of Pringles, your chips are there, they don't break, or most of the time, yeah, they don't, they're stuck there and they're preserved and they're not greasy like some other brands are. So it's about combining. Combinational creativity is about combining things that are there, that are already existing in a very unusual way, all right, to make sense. Are you am I Let me see some of the comments. Can you put some of the comments up there? I hope I'm making sense. Are you feeling me? So we've just been talking about um, combinational creativity. Thank you guys for connecting, and um, Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All righty, fantastic. Now let me go on um, to the next one, which is exploratory creativity. And so, exploratory creativity is about using existing conventions to generate new ideas. All right, we're using existing conventions to generate new ideas, even though at the beginning of our exploration, we're not sure what the possibilities could be. All right. So we're not just combining familiar things to bring up new ideas now. We're just exploring within the space, the context of what we call the conceptual space, using the existing rules. And I'm going to give you examples of that. So the rules defining the exploratory creativity is that we follow the rules, we explore, we're testing, we're trying to generate new structures that will fit in that style. And I'm going to tell you, you got to listen to this. I just became, really obsessed as I dug deep into exploratory creativity. I got obsessed with car tires, and I'm going to tell you about, motor vehicle tires very, very soon, and the genius of, the wheel, the automobile wheel. All right. Now, before I go there, let me just show you a few examples. You see, exploring the topic of creativity has led me to this world of art, ART, that I'd never really understood. I'm a scientist, but art is amazing. And shout out to all you artists out there. You guys are really amazing. It's a whole different world. All right. Now, this painting was painted in 1872 by Claude Monet using oil on canvas. It's what they call the impressionist art. All right. And it's just amazing, kind of. Now, if I had looked at this like maybe a few years ago, it would have made no sense to me. And I'm looking at it on my screen right now. I'm sure you can see it on your screen too. You know, um, but this is a different type of art. And in fact, when I read about Impressionism, which is a type of art where artists use different techniques to create new works, they freely brush colors and they try to make it real. They go out often. Most of these paintings are done outdoors, and they create this unusual kind of picture. It was initially, not liked, but now it's one very, very, very um, respected, part of art. Now, this is exploratory. The Impressionist art movement came from exploratory creativity. Let's stretch the boundaries. Let's stretch the boundaries of art, you know, and how can we paint? How can we express nature on a canvas in a different way? All right. And so they just kept exploring, and that's what led to this movement, the Impressionist movement, um, that started in the late 19th century. What about chemistry, organic chemistry? Once chemists found that benzene was a ring and it was not like a straight chain, what did they start to do with benzene ring? They started experimenting with benzene ring. All right. And by changing one atom and moving it here and adding fluoride and changing this here and adding bromide, you create different chemicals. So from one single chemical, by experimenting with that chemical, working within the existing rules or the existing conventions, and just experimenting, exploring, you create different things, new things, amazing things. Wow. So this can work this way. Oh, this can work this way. Oh, wow. So this is it. This is it. Exploratory creativity. And if you even look at our social media space right now and look at things like Instagram, particularly, Instagram didn't start as a photo sharing app. um, so most of those apps, for example, Instagram, at least I've read about that. It's a bit of exploratory creativity. It was designed for something else, but they found, oh, it connected with this in this particular way. Oh, people found it useful in this way. And they've pivoted into that. They've adapted into that. Exploratory creativity is about exploring and trying different ways to improve or to generate new ideas from what you already have existing concepts within the rules. Okay, I'm going to still give us a few examples of that. I said to you earlier that I just became really obsessed with wheels and tires. All right, and I'm really interested in the evolution of the wheel. So I started reading about tires. And the reason what led me to this was because my wife had to service a vehicle, so she took her vehicle for servicing, and the guys there said, "Oh yeah, one of your tires, you need to change your four tires." And because it was a European vehicle, it cost me a lot of money to change all the four tires at the same time. I don't know how that managed, how we managed that. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, that was a great expense changing all the four tires at the time. And so I just started exploring about tires, and I was interested. And why when I started exploring, the evolution of car tires, I was, blown away by the creativity and the genius that has led to the development of the wheel, from the ancient, stone wheels of, the Egyptians, and those that lived in the Mesopotamia 3000 BC, to the wooden wheels, all right, and now to the tension spoke wheels, to the modern car tire. There's a lot of exploratory creativity here, and I'm going to explain that to you. Now, let me start with this two men. Okay, let me start the story with this two men. All right, the man on the top panel there, is his name is Robert Thomson, a Scottish engineer. Now, he was the first person that patented an air-filled tire. So he designed a patent of a tire that was filled with air. That was in 1847. All right. And he designed this tire for horse-drawn carriages. All right. So for vehicles that were drawn by horses. And some of them were used when the car was invented, was used. But it didn't get traction. It wasn't very popular. And people did not even know, including the man in the lower panel here. This man in the lower panel is John Dunlop from Ireland. Now, John Dunlop did not even know that there was an existing patent in England for inflatable tires. So he also filed a patent, and he was recognized as an inventor of the pneumatic or the inflatable tire. But he designed his own tires for the bicycles. So that was what he designed the bicycles for, the time that for. But guess what? The timing was perfect for John Dunlop, because bicycles were more popular. And in fact, they were so popular that it was an amazing success. It was 2 years after is John Dunlop's patent that he realized that, oh, one certain Richard Thompson already had a patent for the same idea, but just in a different vehicle, in a different way, and in a different time. And John Dunlop's invention of putting inflatable tires on bicycles revolutionized everything, changed everything. All right, the idea that we could then have a smoother ride rather than just having a metallic beam or hard rubber. In the past, at that time, what they had was hard rubber around the metal rim or a wheel, and that was it. And it was very clunky, very hard, very slow, and the tires will burn out very quickly. Very amazing thought. But they worked separately, and they came up differently at different outcomes. Now, what was different in the outcomes here? Even though Richard Thompson got this patent 2 years before John Dunlop, it was not accepted. It was novel, but it was not useful. Everybody forgot about Richard Thompson. In fact, today, who cares about Richard Thompson? I never knew he existed. I never knew he was the first guy that thought we could pump air into tires, because it is in its application, it was not useful for a society in England at the time. He designed it for horse carriages. Nobody cared at the time. But John Dunlop, same idea, different time, different situation. Same idea, the same continent, but they applied it to bicycles. And it was a huge success. Within a few years, they started a massive bicycle company. And after a few years after his retirement, the Dunlop, tire company was formed, even though he was not actively involved in that company. But they used his name. They didn't use Richard Thompson's name. What that tells you is that about creativity is that you can bring up a new thing, but if it's not useful within your social context, it's just new. That's what it is. So they both had the idea of pumping air in tires, but Dunlop found a way to make it relevant to his own community. And he found that he had a bicycle, others had bicycles, and it was difficult for them to ride. We can make the ride easier because most of the roads were not paved or tarred. We can make the ride better by putting air into bicycle tires. He didn't copy Richard Thompson's idea. They worked separately. He didn't even know that man existed. So when you're creating something, when you're bringing new ideas, you need to find out how it can be useful and translated into reality within your social context in a way that would add value. Because if your creative idea is not adding value, then it's not a creative idea. It's just a novel idea. It's just a new thing. It's just a new fad. All right. Creativity is about creating value. Creativity is about original, unique ideas that add value, that are useful. And in this, in what I've shared with you two amazing inventors with the same idea, but with different outcomes. All right. You know what Victor Hugo said? There's one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, an idea whose time has come. So, timing is also very important with ideas. Timing is also very important with ideas. When it comes to tires, as I said, I've just been reading all about tires. This man Goodyear, what an amazing man! And I just had to acknowledge Goodyear, who was a man that got us the kind of rubber we had. So rubber could not be used in tires because rubber is very soft, very sticky. When it's in hot weather, it becomes sticky and inflexible in the cold. So it's very hard in cold weather and it's very soft in hot weather. But in 1839, Charles Goodyear found a way, all right, to harden rubber by vulcanization. So he started the vulcanization process, adding sulfur to rubber. That made rubber useful. Charles Goodyear did it. He transformed rubber, all right. But guess what? This story did not end well because Charles Goodyear, despite the fact that he was a rubber fanatic, he dedicated most of his life experimenting with rubber. He never profited from his work. He died bankrupt. 40 years later, a rubber company will start in his name. All right. Had nothing to do with him. Goodyear Tires has nothing to do with Charles Goodyear. This man died a poor man. All right. He created a great idea, but he just couldn't find it useful. He experimented with rubber, but he just could not translate it into anything useful in his time. And in his time, there were people were using rubber, but Charles Goodyear perfected this, patented it, but he just couldn't use it. So other people used it. And of course, today you see Goodyear tires and all that. It has nothing to do with him. It's just like Tesla. Tesla has nothing to do with Nikola Tesla. It's just using the name. All right. So why I'm saying this to you is that as you're going to start, experimenting and generating ideas, you got to find out what's your game, what's the end game. I want to be creating value. I don't just want to dream up ideas that will not add value. All right. Whatever you're doing, it's not about starting something new. If you start something new, you'll probably be frustrated. All right. Because other people may copy it and find ways to make it work in their own communities. As I said, you can either go with combinational creativity, where you can find something that works elsewhere and bring it to your community. You travel overseas or you travel to another society and you see something that works, bring it to your own society, bring it to your own community, change something there. Be creative with it, all right, and make sure that you acknowledge if you have to, acknowledge those, so you're not just sort of stealing other people's ideas. It's not like plagiarism or anything, but you can adjust and adapt to your own society that in a way that can be useful. Or it can be exploratory, where you just start with something and just keep exploring and exploring and exploring and exploring. All right. I hope that makes sense. So let's go back to these two people. All right. Richard Thompson and John Dunlop. All right. John Dunlop's timing was perfect because bicycles became extremely popular and the lighter tire provided a much better ride. It was relevant. Okay. So, yeah, was it novel? Yes. Was Richard Thompson's work novel? Yes. But Dunlop was creative. All right. He was creative. Same idea, different outcomes. Okay. And as I said, I got obsessed with tires, so I have to just mention this. These are Michelin tires, and Michelin became prominent in the 1940s because they found a way to change the designs of tires. So I can't go into the depth now. Some people here may be motorists and car enthusiasts, so you would know about the history of car tires. But in the 40s, Michelin designed a different type of tire that They are called radial tires, so that the rubber treads run perpendicular, all right, like 90 degrees from the wheel. And by just changing, so they didn't create new type of tires. They didn't bring square tires. It's still the same round tires with a metallic rim. They just changed the arrangement. That's exploratory creativity. How can we make tires better? How can we have more grip? How can we, get traction on the road? How can we reduce wear and tear? How can we make the smooth ride? They kept experimenting with what already exists. Exploratory creativity. You take a product, how can I make this product better? You know what? Open it up. Why not? Maybe if I change this, I try this, I experiment. That is exploratory creativity. You're using something that is good, take something that is good, and you try to make it better. That's what Michelin did. Now, Michelin existed for a long time. All right. In fact, the way they started, when I read about the Michelin brothers in France, they were repairing farm equipment, farm tractors. So somebody brought a tractor to them that had rubber tires that was inflatable. But those days, inflatable tires were attached to the metal wheel. So imagine your tube, the tube in the tire attached. It was glued to the metal tube. So you know what they did? They tried repairing it and it was hard. It took them a long time. So the Michelin brothers decided, can we just design a type of tire where we can extract the tube, the inflatable tube in it, without gluing it to the metal rim? That's their patent. And that's how they started Michelin tires. It grew to become the biggest tire company in the world. I think it's probably second or third now. All right. But they just found something. Someone brought it to them and they were like, you know what? Why can't we remove the tube out? Why do we glue it to the rim? Why are tire manufacturers doing that? They questioned it. And by experimenting in their workshop, they found a way to create a tube and they patented it and they started a tire company. And in the 40s, they were not in the game in the 40s. How did they get into the game? They found a way to arrange the rubber fibers within a tire in a different way. And by doing that, boom, you got radial tires. And now look at the kind of tires they're doing now. They're now working on airless tires now. Look at this kind of tire. All right. And who knows what type of tire. Now it still has a wheel, it's still round, it's still on a car. So you're not breaking the conventions, you're not changing. This is not like transformative creativity, which we'll go next to. So it's still within the bounds, but you're stretching by exploring and experimenting. And who knows what we'll have next. Yeah, next, transformational creativity. I hope you're getting value here. Can the team just put some comments on the screen? Let me just see what yeah, I just want to feel the audience. I hope I'm not too yeah, someone says creativity is about creating value as ideas that are useful in its social context. Absolutely. Yeah, explorative creativity. Fantastic, fantastic. It's not just about starting something new. Yes, it's about adding value. That's it. Creativity is about value, 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 value. Thank you, Amarachi. Yes, there's one thing stronger than all the arms in the world. Yes, Victor Hugo said that. An idea whose time has come. You can't stop it. All right, let me go on right now. All right, so transformative creativity is different. So the novel idea is not merely new or strange, but or impossible. Now you're breaking rules, you're breaking convention. That's transformative creativity. It usually involves redefining the dimension, the style, the conceptual space. All right. It leads to that impossibilities surprise. A novel idea comes and it's just, it's impossible. How is that possible? Change the game. Absolutely game changing. Who remembers this United States patent that was filed by Steve Jobs? This patent is transformed the world. This patent, touchscreen device, method, and graphical user interface for determining commands by applying heuristics, changed the world because it led us to the iPhone. And since Jobs announced this in January 2007 and released it in June, the first iPhone in June 2007, our world hasn't remained the same. I remember turning up to work the first day I saw an iPhone with a colleague, and it was just showing me the gyroscope, how the phone will change when it turns the orientation, the phone will change. And how he showed me the apps, the touch thing. I used to use a flip phone then. This was, I think, 2008, 9. We were slow to the party. And it was this Indian guy, the doctor friend of mine, and we're just there, and he just showed me this thing. I was like, wow, how does this work? This is just crazy. With no keypad, no keypad. Well, transformative creativity. Now, Apple, if you go read about the story of the iPhone, bought a lot of companies. They didn't create a lot of, even the touchscreen technology was not theirs. All right. And you can see from the patent that so many other people had designed so many things. But they brought all of this, they brought a touchscreen device, they brought a graphical user interface together and applied heuristics. They brought everything together and they transformed. They broke the rules. Phones were not going to be the same anymore. And that's it. Game changing. Brought in the App Store. And look at it. Look at us today. And some of you are watching me on your phones right now. Can you imagine that? You're watching me on your mobile device right now. This is it. United States patent, Jobs et al. Changed the game. Absolutely transformative creativity. What if you decide to change the rule? Have you thought about this? Let's look at the game of chess here. I've got a chessboard here for you. So just imagine that you want to move a pawn. How do we play chess? I'm not a great chess player, but I know a few of the chess rules. At least I know how to move a pawn in a chess game. Okay, so to move a pawn, we go this way. All right. So you can move a pawn forward just by one step, or maybe you can go two steps. All right. What if we change the game? I'm trying to illustrate transformational creativity here. What if you change a game? What if you design a game of chess that is different so that your pawn can move like a knight? Do you know that's a different game? Completely different game. Now, chess players will scream. Yeah, they always scream. They will always scream when you break the rules, when you bring something different, when you say, no, we can do it better. We've been doing it forever like this, but it's time to change. It's disruptive. It's a disruption. You change. That's transformational creativity. Uber, all the cloud-based services, all the different technology, and of course, I'm not a tech person, but, I like tech. And if you read some of the stories, any of these companies, I read about them, and I just amazed about, and most of these innovators don't even understand the science behind what they're doing, but they do it. Transformational creativity. Let's break the rule. No, when I mean break the rule now, not in an illegal way, but let's create a new rule, new convention. All right, that's it. Let's make a pawn a knight. Let's make a pawn. Can you imagine designing a game of chess where your pawn moves like a knight? It's a different game. And maybe it will be even more popular. Or maybe the pawn can move like a bishop. So we allow the pawn to move freely. What kind of game would that lead to? Who knows? That is transformational creativity. Okay? We will have a completely different game. And this has happened. This has happened in sports. This happened in sports where there was a certain game called rugby. Rugby was codified, and people have been playing rugby for decades or even centuries, but it was codified in 1845. And this man here, an amazing, I'm not sure whether my Kiwi friends are here, but shout out to you Kiwi friends, Joseph Lomo. I like rugby union. Actually, I like all the rugby games, rugby league, rugby union, the NFL. I watch a little bit of that. I love sports. All right, but Joseph Lomo, in my view, the greatest, best ever rugby player of all time. Now, you always argue, the GOAT debate. Yeah, the GOAT debate. Amazing player he was. And he terrorized Australia. Australians, I don't think Australians are fan of this guy. Because when he was with the All Blacks, oh my God, what a man. Unfortunately, he died of kidney disease. All right, diabetic kidney disease. Now, so this is rugby, but some people feel that, what? We don't want to play rugby this way. It was designed, formulated in England. Let's have our own type of rugby. Let's change the game. Well, enter Aussie Rules Football, Australian Football League. It was formed in Australia here in 1858. All right. That's Dustin Martin, an AFL player. So what did they do? They changed the rules, changed the jersey. Now you can kick in an unusual way. It's more of a kicking game and a jumping game, and it's a bit different. Change the rules. You can even pass forward. All right. In rugby, you don't pass forward with your hands. You run with the ball, but you don't pass forward. You kick forward. You change the rules. And by changing the rules, completely different sport. What about the NFL? If you go read about the NFL when it started in college, all right, in the 18th century as well, I think 1860s or so, it was a lot of NFL is derived from rugby. A lot of the rules are derived from rugby and maybe soccer. But then you put a big helmet on with shoulder pad and some protective gear, and you get it to the college kids. All right. Of course, they were college kids, so you have to protect the college kids. All right. And then you've got the NFL now, a gigantic enterprise. Can you imagine if they didn't do that? If those guys who brought college football did not just think about changing a game and, creating new rules? That's Tom Brady there. I'm sure we can all agree that it's probably the greatest ever, you know, NFL player. All from rugby. What about rugby league itself? Rugby league is the most popular sport in Australia. It's not to be corrected. I know AFL people are there, but I'm an NRL fan. Penrith Panthers, NRL fan. All right, National Rugby League. Well, it's mostly popular in Australia, but it was also, invented in the UK because there was a dispute about paying professional players. So they broke off. So rugby league broke off from rugby union, changed some of the rules, and it's the hardest contact sport. No helmet, nothing, just your mouth guard. But it's so fast paced. So rugby league is more intense and more fast paced than rugby union, and it's still very popular. And all of these are professional leagues. Transformational creativity, changing the game, changing the rules. You get a different outcome. Am I making sense to you? So if you want to be creative in a transformational way, that's it. That's it. So let's go back to this. So a creative idea is novel and useful, as I've said. But usefulness is tied to seasons. And you've seen some of the examples I've given. So sometimes the value of an idea is not appreciated by society because value is determined by how the society sees it. And sometimes the society may not be ready for novel ideas. It's happened before. Ignaz Semmelweis. Ignaz was an obstetrician in Austria, is regarded today as the father of hand washing. So this man noticed that the mortality rate in his labor ward was 30%. In those days in Austria, in 1847, in fact, all over Europe, 30% of women who go into labor die. So he wondered, why is that these women die? What he realized was that the same doctors who would go attend the labor to deliver babies were the same doctors performing autopsies. So a doctor would go to the ground floor, perform an autopsy, and rush upstairs to the third floor to, take a delivery without washing his hands. There were no gloves. So he started washing his hands, and by washing his hands, his mortality drops to less than 6%. Can you believe that in 1847, he was regarded as a lunatic? That people did not believe in him and people did not feel that hand washing was necessary. People did not believe that hand washing was necessary. They did not, reckon with him at all. And this man became, so depressed. He was later put in an asylum where he was beaten by the guards and he later died. But in his time, he was not regarded at all. And in fact, it was 5 years after his death that surgeons started washing their hands. And hand washing did not really become a real big fad until the 1900s. Great idea. Now he's celebrated, but when he was alive, he wasn't celebrated. All right. So usefulness is often tied to seasons. What about this man, Gregor Mendel, who was a monk, but a great scientist, and he, is regarded as the father of genetics. Worked out genetics and inheritance, and how people, the recessive genes and the dominant genes, and worked all of that out. Yeah, but it was not accepted, and people did not accept, even people in the science community did not accept him. He was about 16 years after he died, and everybody came back to say, yes, it was right. Yes, this man was right. Yes, this man was right. So sometimes the usefulness may outlive or may only become apparent long after the idea was published initially. So, how do we enhance creativity? All right. Um, if you just give me like a 2 minute break, I'll be back in 2 minutes. All right. And I'll come talk about how to enhance creativity. That's my formula. I'll just try to be creative with, Albert Einstein's formula. Okay. I'll see you in a sec. Yes, yes, yes. I'm back. Yes. Right. Good, good, good. So let's go. Enhancing creativity. So, how about to play around? You know, this formula E is M squared times C. All right. And I'll quickly talk about this motivation, mastery, and creative thinking skills. All right. Motivation, mastery, and creative thinking skills. If you're going to enhance creativity, if you want to be more creative, you've got to be motivated. All right. And I'm going to talk about that. Motivation is intrinsically orientated. All right. Motivation. All right. Mastery, creative thinking skills. Stay with me. Stay with me. Don't go anywhere because this is it now. We're getting into the depth of why you're here. How do you enhance your creativity? As I said, everyone is creative. All right, everyone is creative, but you can enhance your creativity. You can improve your creativity. You can find a way to unleash the genius that is on the inside of you. And that's what we're going to be dealing with right now. So, enhancing creativity. So, let's start with motivation, okay? Let's start with motivation. Motivation is commitment to the task. All right. And it starts with your why, finding your why. You see, once you find your why, you'll be motivated enough to be creative. Without that basis, that foundation of motivation, you cannot unleash your creativity. All right. Every creative genius, every person who's created something transformational, particularly, they found their why. They found it. They found it. There was something they found that kept them awake all night long. There's something they found that pushed them. There was a passion. There was something they were really passionate about. So motivation is intrinsic. All right. So it's about finding your why. A lot of people just deal with the what. Oh, what can I do? What is the problem? Or how can I solve it? So if your question is, what is the problem? How can I solve it? No, your question should be, why do I need to solve it? What is my why? What is the why for me? Why am I in this business? Why am I thinking of this idea? Why am I pursuing this plan? Why am I having why? Find your why. Find your why. Because if you find your why, you'll be motivated enough. And when you're motivated enough, motivation, your why changes your brain. Okay. Your brain will be activated. So certain centers in your brain will be activated. And you will then get into that state of creative flow. You will not you cannot enter into that state of creative flow consistently without your why. So it's not about what do I want to do or how am I going to do it or how. A lot of people worry about the what and the how, or what is the latest trend, or what is the problem, what, how. You attend, how many programs have you attended? How many webinars and seminars have you attended? It's all about how. Start with your why. Simon Sinek. Start with your why. Find your why. All right. Why? Because motivation changes the game. Motivation is connected to your brain. You see, your what and your how are connected to this part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, the PFC. You've probably heard me talk about the brain many times. So the PFC is your prefrontal cortex, which is just basically the part of the brain that helps with you with logical reasoning, analytical skills, thinking skills. All right. So a lot of us worry too much, or a lot of us are not creative because most of our thinking is done with the PFC. So it's all about logical reasoning and trying to work things out and trying to solve problems, what and how, using all of your energy to try to, deduce answers. If you go down to the why connects to deeper structures. The why connects not just to your PFC, but to your limbic system, the feeling part of your brain, to your inner intuition, to those, remote connections in your brain. Why activate your whole brain? So one of the things I teach, for example, in goal setting, when I teach goal setting, is whole brain goal setting. Whole brain goal setting involves not just your thinking. A lot of people think when they set goals, they only set goals based on what they think, what, how. No, if you start goal setting with your why, you activate all your cognitive resources. You activate not just your PFC, even the deep, because there's some emotional connections that are involved as well. Your perception is involved as well. Your attentional resources are diverted as well to that goal. But if your goal is just all very cerebral and just very logical, there'll be no depth to it. That's why by March and July, your New Year resolutions are gone because you've not found your why. If you found your why, you know, your life will change. It's game changing. So why connects deeper, all right? Your what and how connects to your prefrontal cortex, but your why connects everywhere. Why rewires the brain. Why rewires your brain. Because when you find your why, it activates three circuits are turned up when you find your why. When you understand the why of what you're doing, when you understand the why of the what, your brain circuits are turned on, your alertness system is turned on, your attention system is turned on, and your reward system is turned on. And maybe you've heard me talk about these three systems before. Every time you find your why, okay, why do I want to do this? Why do I want to start this business? Why do I want to learn this language? Why do I want to solve this problem? Why? Because you've seen something and yeah, I can solve this. I can make a difference. I can start this business. I can, innovate in this way. Once you found your why, it alerts three circuits in your brain: the alertness system, the attention system, and the reward system. And all these systems are mediated through different chemicals. The alertness system is mediated by adrenaline and noradrenaline. It keeps you alert. It's also called the stress system. All right. It gets you alert and engaged. You wake up, it wakes you up. Your why wakes you up, literally wakes you up. You become so alert, you become so locked in. And then the attention system is mediated by acetylcholine, another brain chemical, a neurotransmitter in the brain that keeps you focused. All right. So you're not just alert, you're now focused. All right. And then you've got the reward system, which is mediated by dopamine, and that helps sustain you. So you need these three systems. Now, a lot of people don't know how to activate the reward system. All right. So they depend on their alertness and attention and they burn out. In fact, the quitting hormone is adrenaline. Adrenaline is the quitting hormone. Adrenaline will get you started, but you will quit very quickly. Adrenaline, that's what happens at the beginning of the year. Oh, yeah, it's a new year. All right. So you're very alert. All right. And yes, and your stress system, is in top gear until you're alert and you're like focused. But life happens after a while and you quit. That's what happens, when you're about to start a race. If you see athletes at the beginning of a race, let's say the 100 meters Olympic final, if you look at the athletes, they don't just stand still. Why are they always jumping? Even if it's a boxing match or a UFC match, you see them shaking the nerves. All right, that's this alertness system. They're alert. They're ready for war. They're ready to fight. So they shake the nerves. They shake it off. They jump. Yeah, they jump because they know that yes, the alertness system is good to keep them alert and engaged, but it would also numb them. It would also reduce their performance. I'm a peak performance coach. So I know what I'm talking about. All right. So people who are the great athletes are the ones that can control the alertness system. You want to be alert. You want that arousal stress. You want that stress to keep you alert and you're ready for action. But you don't want it to be overwhelming because if it's overwhelming, you will not perform well. All right. And so some people, they get this stage fright. They're very good. Have you watched Shark Tank or Dragon's Den? And you see professors and PhD holders who they can teach and do all of that. But they get on national TV before, these investors, some of whom do not even have maybe a college degree or they're just business people or whatever. And they freeze and they just, they're overwhelmed and they can't produce. All right. Because the alertness system or the stress system takes over and paralyzes them. They freeze and they just can't function properly. Well, that's where the reward system comes in. All right. And when you find your why, you activate your reward system. You start to picture your future. And the more you picture the future, the more of dopamine you release in your brain, which then modulates. So what dopamine does is to modulate your adrenaline and your acetylcholine. So dopamine helps you to calm down. All right, calms you down, keeps you going. When you feel like giving up, you think about the end, you go on again. You start that business, and the first year you're not making anything, and you're about giving up. You're stressed and you're tired. You think about the future. You think about, oh, yeah, that keeps you going, the reward system. People who last long in the race are those who are able to picture the end from the beginning. They're the ones that can keep the vision constant. They're the ones that can still have that mental picture. Lindsey Vonn, one of these great skiers, said, every time I am at the start line, I would have run the race over 100 times in my mind. I know every turn. Lewis Hamilton, F1, one of the greatest F1 riders, knows every turn of every course. All right. You have played it in your mind over and over and over and over again. That's you've primed your mind. You know what that does? That activates your reward system because you see yourself achieving it. This is not just one motivational stuff. This is science. So you must learn. And one way to activate your reward system is visualization. Because what you see really matters. The more, if you are able to maintain visualization, visual focus, that's great. I don't want to go into some of that because that's beyond today's talk. But I've just had to bring this in to let you know that one of the ways you can keep yourself on track and keep moving on and pushing on is through this. All right. Why rewires the brain? Okay. So let's talk about mastery. Stay with me. Okay. Please don't go anywhere. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. So stay with me. All right. We're getting there. Why? So now mastery. We're talking about enhancing creativity. Okay. Now, if you want to be creative, you've got to know your stuff. You've got to know your stuff in whatever field you're in. You've got to know your stuff. All right. Yeah. So it's good to be motivated. It's good to find your why, but you also need to know. You need to know what you're doing. You need to pursue mastery in whatever you're doing. These two paintings, like, I don't know what to say about these two paintings. The first time I saw them, it made no sense. But I said to you, over the last few weeks, I've just been looking at art and art and art. These are the works of Pablo Picasso. And I've always wondered what is special about Picasso. Listen, I've read about Picasso's life. I can't even remember how many times I've read about Picasso's life right now and how much of his life I do know. But the more I look at this work, the more I now understand why Picasso is regarded. All right, these are two paintings of two lovers he's had, in his lifetime. He had many lovers apparently, and a lot of his paintings were about people he had experienced, whether his girlfriends, his wives, or whatever it is. But this first painting here was painted on a single day in October 1954. All right, this first one here, the left panel here, it was painted on canvas. Jacqueline Roque, a 27-year-old woman, and Picasso, made this painting, did it all in a day. And you wonder, does the woman actually look like this? I've gone to check the photo of the woman. The woman did not look like this, but why did Picasso illustrate it here and illustrate her in this way? Well, he was trying to do something different. This was transformational creativity. Picasso, with some of his colleagues at the time, brought this new concept of cubism, 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 a new form of art. Shout out to all the artists that are out there, cubism. And here they use geometric shapes to illustrate things. It's a bit different. So it wasn't trying to illustrate reality. It's not like a painting, where you paint out all the, facial features and all that. But he was trying here to use geometric shapes and interlocking planes to just express the different dimensions of that individual. And the more I look at it, the more I was like, wow, yeah, this is genius. This was well ahead of his time. People did not like it initially when he started doing this. People criticized, what is this? This is messy. And now I wonder why people pay so much money for this kind of work. All right, I'm like, oh, maybe something I can even do in my backyard. Well, do you know how much this is worth right now? This picture, Femi Akrupe, as it's called, this picture of Jacqueline. Well, it's worth $36.8 million, the original. And what about this one, the Weeping Woman that Picasso painted? All right, similar. He did it in 1937, and it's another woman, Dora Maar, one of his ex-wives, crying. This was during the World War, when the World War started. Well, it's worth over $100 million. Okay, so what made this worth a lot? Why this works of art so valuable? Because they were novel. Because Picasso pioneered a different type of art. It wasn't the conventional. It was different. It was useful. And it started depicting people's faces using geometric shapes with interlocking planes in a different way and multi-dimensional presentation. And it was personal. A lot of his paintings were people, showing people in different ways. It just broke the norm. It was transformational for art. All right, Picasso. There's not a lot about his life that I will emulate about his personal life, but there's no doubt in my mind that this man had mastery. And he's one of those great inventors or innovators that kept innovating, from cubism to collage to sculpture. He introduced all of those things. He kept working and kept working. And he was a pioneer because he had mastery. From his teenage years, he started the work of art until he died at the age of 91. He didn't stop. He wasn't motivated by money. Well, he's multimillionaire before he died. But why? When I read the amount of art this man had produced, tens of thousands of paintings. In fact, he has one painting, Gigovica, which is worth over $1 billion. Over $1 billion. A massive wall of art about World War II. So why? This man had mastery. Listen, if you want to be creative, you've got to know your stuff. You've got to know your stuff. You've got to invest in yourself. You've got to learn. You've got to know about you've got to know about what you're doing. You've got to get the information, get the education, get the knowledge, because you can't transform what you do not know. It's when you have that mastery that you cannot push the edges. So this man was an artist, but he brought in cubism, all right, and introduced this new concept and changed art. And because what he did was different, initially was criticized, but today his art is all his works are worth billions of dollars. All right. What about these two men, Crick and Watson? These are Nobel laureates. All right. These two men are Nobel laureates. And you know, this interesting story I read about these people, I was just like amazed about these two people, these two young men. They were in their 20s and early 30s. And what they won the Nobel Prize in medicine for was that they found the structure of the DNA. All right. They were the first people to put together the helical structure of the DNA. The DNA, which is the basic chemical in all our genes, in life in general. And that was groundbreaking because it introduced us to a new world of molecular biology. But you know what was interesting about these guys? These guys did not perform a single experiment on DNA. They were just masters at science. They were they had a background, they learned about genetics, about biochemistry, about physics, and about X-ray crystallography. So they had expertise in these areas. But guess what? They never did anything about the DNA originally. What they did was just to read. They also wanted to solve the problem because everybody all over the world was trying to figure out what makes up the DNA. What is the structure of DNA? People knew about the genes, but how is it? How they wanted to figure it out. So, what these people did was to read all the papers. What they realized was that different groups all over the world, in the United States, in England, in Europe, all of these different groups were working in their own fields, not talking to each other, and that the answer was there. What they did was just to read everybody's papers and bring together the ideas of everyone. In fact, in their own landmark paper that introduced the helical um, structure of DNA, they did not conduct any experiment. They were quoting experiments from different other, you know, scientists. And they were able to put it together that if you put Mr. A's findings with Mr. B's findings and Mr. C's findings, this is the structure. And that was it. A few years later, they won their Nobel Prize in medicine. And this man, Mr. Watson, later became the father of the genetic code. He led one of the genetic code project by the NIH in the United States. All right. And he didn't even have a background in genetics. It was in X-ray crystallography that he had a background in. But they were vast. They saw a problem. They wanted to find an answer to a problem. They went to read existing literature. They were vast in existing literature. They read about what was going on. What was everyone doing? And they realized, okay, yeah, people are working in their own different echo chambers. What if we listen to every other person, expose ourselves to what people are doing everywhere? We can tie up things together and produce something creative. And that was how they were able to resolve the question of the DNA. All right. And it's, you know where we're today. All right. C, creative thinking. Creative thinking. I hope you're getting value from this. Creative thinking. So I've talked about mastery, motivation, now creative thinking. All right. So if you want to enhance your creativity, mastery, motivation, creative thinking. Now, to talk about creative thinking, I've got to introduce you to this concept of convergent thinking and divergent thinking. All right. And some of you may be familiar with this already. So when we talk about convergent thinking is the process of finding a solution to a problem. So when you're thinking about thinking, you're trying to find a solution to a problem. All right. So you gather all the facts, you use logical reasoning to eliminate whatever the options are, and you arrive at the answer. The opposite is the case with divergent thinking because divergent thinking is really the basis for creativity. For most creative cognitive processes, divergent thinking is the hallmark Because in divergent thinking, you're not looking for the answer. You're actually trying to redefine the question. And by redefining the question and opening up yourself to multiple options, you would generate more ideas. So your focus is not trying to find the answer. You're trying to understand the question. Divergent thinking focuses more on the question than the answer. Because by the time you focus on the question a bit more, you will get more opportunities. Divergent thinking is really essential to tackle problems. And if there's anything you need to improve your skills on, is thinking divergently. So that when you see a problem, your question should not be, what is the answer? Your question is, why does this problem exist? Why does this problem exist? What are the risk factors for this problem? What created this problem? How did we find ourselves here? Why is it? Why? By exploring the question properly, you will open up more avenues, right? And that's how that's what leads to innovation. If the way of your thinking is always, oh, there's a problem, I need to find an answer. Sometimes it's just good to stay with the problem a bit longer. All right. Because when you stay with the problem a bit longer, you will find answers that make sense, answers that are deeper, answers that will last longer. If you stay with the problem a bit longer, you will find answers that will last longer, and you'll have more options and more opportunities. So, convergent thinking is about working out a well defined problem, eliminating the options so that you get the correct answer. And oftentimes the answer is predetermined. But divergent thinking is a bit different because your problem is open ended. You're looking at, and you're exploring all kinds of ideas, even crazy ideas. All right. And you're open and you're flexible in your mind to different ideas and different combinations. And you can have multiple answers because there's no correct answer. There is no stupid idea when you're thinking divergently. There's no correct way of doing it. There's no correct way of playing chess. I just said that. There's a correct way of playing chess. There are rules for chess, but I'm just saying that when you think divergently, that's when you create new things. All right. Why must we do it this way? Have you always questioned why must we do it this way? If you don't question the norm and find ways of, if you don't think that way, you're not flexible in your thinking, all right, you just keep doing the same thing every other person does. Why must we do it this way? Why is it always this way? Why must it be this way? Question. And that's thinking divergently. All right. Now, if you think divergently, you're more likely to generate options. I remember I'll just share this very quickly. I know time is running out. When I wanted to start my private practice, my business, I was working in a private practice as a specialist, and I saw the model they had. And most of the private practices, you have an office, whether you buy the office or you lease the office, you have staff, secretaries, you have technicians, you have researchers, or you may even have other doctors that are working in the practice. So it's very brick and mortar. You have a big server at the back where you keep all your medical records or whatever, and it's just a very capital intensive kind of thing. You pay all your insurances, and of course it's a big deal. It's big business kind of thing. So, after working for 5 years in that practice, and I felt, okay, well, let me have my own, but I want to be flexible. I'm not just practicing as a physician all the time. I have other interests. I'm a person of faith, a pastor at church. I'm interested in youth groups, and I do a lot of teaching and mentoring and coaching. And so I wanted something flexible. All right. And I didn't want to practice 5 days a week. I just wanted to work a few days a week and make a reasonable income so that I can look after my family. But then I have the opportunity to pursue other interests and enjoy life and travel and speak and have webinars like this. All right. And have time to do research and learn about and read. I've got to read about people. If I'm only reading about medicine, like, listen, in the last 2 weeks, I've read more about art and sports and politics than I've read anything about neurology. If I've not read any neurology journal in the last 2 weeks, I've not read any paper in neurology. All right. I want to be able to I want to be flexible in my thinking. I want to explore other interests. So I thought of it, okay, how can I start my own practice? So it's not about the answer. Convergent thinking will be like, oh, you know what, go to the bank, get a loan, get all your medical equipment financed or whatever, then hire, some people, employ secretary and a practice manager. And that's just a tradition. That's just how it's been done. All right. That's the way it is. That's convergent thinking. There's a question, there's a problem. That's the answer. Divergent thinking is different. Divergent thinking is about, okay, how else? Why do we do it this way? Why can't I do it because it would not fit my lifestyle? I didn't want to work 5 days a week, 8 to 5 every day in the private practice. And I was still working in the teaching hospital, all right, where I consult. So I had so many, my hands were in too many things. I want flexible work. I want to be able to have a business, but flexible work. So I started researching. I started making phone calls. I started looking at the different options. And oh, I realized, yeah, I could get a location where I can, have my sessions there and only pay for the office when I'm there. All right, and then I can get a receptionist to be with me on the day. All right, casual. So I don't have to have a long term, like full time receptionist who would I'll be paying when I'm not consulting, since I don't consult all the time. And then, oh, what about my back end stuff? What about my phone calls, my emails, all of those other things? What about all the faxes and the messages and the blood test and all the patients who want to find me? Well, I need somebody to be taking my calls. I need somebody to look after that. Well, good enough. I didn't realize there was a company that can handle that for me. So I realized that, oh yeah, I could actually deal with that. I could sign that up with them and they would look after the back end stuff and take care of all of that, all my billings, the invoices and all of the back end stuff. And so by exploring, and it took me weeks and months to really explore that, I realized that wow, I could create a business out of my profession that will suit my lifestyle, and I will not be boxed into this 8 to 5 lifestyle, and I can be creative. And so since 2015, I'd not worked in a full-time job. I started my own gig, and I consult around my own schedule to accommodate my family and my other interests. But I had to be creative. Guess what? It worked. The business grew. And now we're expanding and we're doing other things now. All right. Which is great for us. But that's it. That's divergent thinking. That's you not locking yourself in and just following the norm and repeating what other people are, because it may not just work for you. And that's why a lot of you are in jobs right now that you hate. You wake up every morning and you're well paid, but you know you're not happy because you've not sat down to really explore what the other options are. Of course, will it be difficult at times? Yes, when I started, there were times when it was difficult for me because I was like, I had the option of getting a salary job, I refused it. But there were days where I went to work and I had got nothing back because no one showed up. And when patients don't show up, I don't get anything. Just like if you're a salesperson and you don't sell, you don't get any commission. But I was looking at the long game. I was looking at the long game. I was looking at the long game, and it's paid up for me. All right. So you got to be able to think divergently because you will solve a lot more of your problems. All right. You solve a lot of more problems. So stop looking for the answer. Start questioning the question. Stop looking for answers. Start questioning the question. Start exploring the question. Explore the question more. Delve deep into the question. Find out why does it work this way? Why is this the way it is? Why can't we do it differently? Why do I have to, when I started my practice, I questioned why must I have a server and all of those things? Why can't I do it differently? Lucky enough, there was a new company that started this cloud-based thing, and I just joined them. And even though initially it was difficult because they were just perfecting their technology, it worked out well for me. And so there were days that I could go to work just with my mobile phone and everything will be there. Everything, I'll have access to it because it's all sort of cloud based. And so using technology, I saved money. I didn't have any full time staff. I was able to increase my margins and then just fine tune things. Of course, there'll be problems along the way, but you keep working at it and then you get better at it. And then not too long after, a group came to me and said, hey, one of the banks here came to me and said, hey, we want to organize a webinar for other doctors. Is it possible for you, those junior doctors who are becoming specialists, that let's organize a webinar so you can teach them your own experience? I was invited to come and talk to other people and share with them some of the new ways of doing it. That, hey, you don't have to do it that the way it's usually done. You can actually set up your own practice with little, capital, without going into debt, all right, without taking any loan, and set it up in a way just like an Uber kind of thing. And you can build it around your lifestyle and you still be profitable and you'll enjoy your life. You don't have to slave away. You can if you explore your options, but that's only possible if you question the question. Question the convention. Question the convention. Don't just take it the way, yeah, this is the way it is, this is the way it is. No, question the question. Stay with me, guys. Stay with me. I know we're taking time, but listen, this is months of research that I'm trying to squeeze in into maybe 2.5, 3 hours. All right, and I can't even touch imagination today, so I still have a few things to talk about in creativity. All right, so I'm still going to share with you some practical tips. All right, I'm going to take another 1 or 2 minutes break, so pardon me. Yeah, but let's go on now. So just a bit more divergent thinking. One of the key things about divergent thinking is that it allows you to generate multiple responses, multiple ideas. You're not keyed into one idea. You can generate multiple ideas. When you practice divergent thinking and you start questioning, why do I have to do it this way? You would start to find out you get more ideas. But if you're always thinking convergently, what's the answer? Easy way. Then you will realize that, oh, if you're a convergent thinker all the time, you only get one answer. You call around, they'll just tell you what to do. Just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. Why do we do it that way? Is there no better way of doing it? Have you not wondered that some of the products you buy, like, why did they design it this way? Can they not design it in a different way? It keeps breaking, it keeps breaking. Maybe that's maybe that's a why. Maybe you can find a why in that, and then you tweak it, exploratory creativity, tweak it, patent it, and you're in business. But you wouldn't be able to do that if you're not a divergent thinker. So divergent thinking creates fluency. You get more ideas. All right. Divergent thinking requires flexibility, meaning that you can think in different dimensions. You can think of different things. It's not just what you know. You can even think about the things you do not know. And then with elaboration, you can refine your responses. I have to go now because of time. So if a coffee machine breaks at work or at home, if you're a convergent thinker, what you want to do is to call the technician right away and say, hey, my coffee machine is broken down. How can you help me fix it? But if you're a divergent thinker, you'll be like, okay, why did this coffee machine break down? How many have we bought now? Is this the second or third one? Why do they keep breaking down? Is it our practice? Is it what we do? Is it the product? And how can we fix the problem? What are the options? Should I call a technician now? Or what are the other options? Is there a DIY solution? Should I just Google it, check on YouTube? Maybe some other people have the same problem, and maybe someone else has, put a solution there for me. All right. And that way I'll save the money of going to the technician. Or maybe there's a fault with this product, and maybe, yeah, there's something that I can fix. You go online and you see, oh, a lot of people are complaining about it, but the manufacturers don't care. Maybe they've not found a way. Maybe you can find a way. A lot of businesses have started that way, just because, you know those that manufacture were comfortable. They had their margins and all that, but their product was defective. But you can take it higher, you can take it better. Divergent thinking. So sometimes the answer is not just to call the company to come and claim a warranty. Maybe the answer is you looking at why and questioning why this happens. All right, why it happens, why it happens. All right, give me another 1 minute. I'll quickly take a 1 minute break and then we're back. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We're going to go into creativity and intelligence shortly. Okay, yeah, we'll be we're there. We're there. I'll be with you soon. All right, I'm back. Yeah, don't go anywhere. Stay with me. Stay with me. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, we are getting there. We are getting there. Yeah, can you put a few comments on the screen for me? Let me just appreciate people. Oh, Afolabi here. Great session. Thank you, Afalabi. Thank you so much. KG, this is so good. Yeah, I'm glad you find it good. It to know, question the question. Yes, yes, question the question. Adebola, divergent thinking helps unlock ideas. Absolutely. That's it. That's it. You're getting it. You're getting it. Rebecca says, stop looking for the answer. Yes, question the question because you get multiple answers. You get the answer by questioning the question and looking at it. Refining the question. That's dope. Yes, that's it. Redefine the question, ask a different question. Or you divergent thinking, asking the right questions. Yes, that's it. Asking the right questions. Okay, question the number. Now let me move on. All right, to the next one. Guys, don't go anywhere. Stay with me. We're getting there. We are getting there. All right. So divergent thinking versus convergence thinking. All right. As you can see there, in divergent thinking, so in convergent thinking, you're just using all the facts. You're trying to use analytical reasoning to answer your question. And that's the base of intelligence. So that's the difference between intelligence and creativity. An intelligent person is somebody who can work out facts, eliminate options, and give you the right answer. So if I ask you, who is the president of the United States of America? Option A, Barack Obama. Option B, Bill Clinton. Option C, Donald Trump. Option D, Joe Biden. An intelligent person who has been exposed to facts and who is able to retain those facts will eliminate, when Obama was president, when Trump was president, when Clinton was president, and now that Biden's president. So by eliminating those negative options, you can give me the right answer. You are intelligent. The answer is predetermined. The answer is already predetermined. So you converge on the answer and you say, this is the answer to that question. That's intelligence. That's how we measure IQ. All right, your intelligence quotient. Okay, so we're trying to give you different problems. We know the answer. If you give us the answer to those problems, we say you are intelligent. And that's what formal education is for, isn't it? Formal education, our teachers will tell us what A plus B is. A plus B is C, or they tell us 1 plus 1 is 2. In the exam, they'll ask us the same question: what is 1 plus 1? If you tell them 1 plus 1 is 2, you get the correct answer. And at the end of the day, you're intelligent because you are able to reproduce what you already know. You're able to answer a question based on facts using your analytical and logical reasoning. That's completely different from being creative. So you can be intelligent and not creative. But most creatives have a bit of intelligence because creativity requires mastery. Okay. But divergent thinking is the basis for creativity because here you're not trying to work out an answer. So a divergent thinker will be 1 plus 1. Why is 1 plus 1 2? What is the basis for that? And is there any other way we can actually analyze it? Is 1 plus 1 really 2? Can 1 plus 1, you know, be 3? That's a divergent thinker. No idea is a stupid idea in divergent thinking because sometimes the craziest ideas have the biggest gems. They're the most valuable ideas. When, oh gosh, just escaped my mind now. The man who developed the hydraulic brain system, his name Westinghouse, George Westinghouse. When he came up with the idea of the hydraulic system to stop trains using the air brake, everybody thought he was crazy. You're going to stop trains with air, AIR. They thought it was the craziest thing ever when he developed the hydraulic brain system, George Westinghouse. Look at that. One of the greatest inventions ever is the hydraulic brain system. Now we use hydraulic fluid and all that, but when they started, it was air, compressed air. All right. So sometimes the craziest ideas have become, you know, the best ideas. That's divergent thinking. No idea is stupid. No idea is crazy. So when I teach students, I tell them, say whatever it is, you're not wrong. Well, you may be wrong, but you're not stupid. No idea is stupid. You can be wrong. It may not be the right way to do it. Look at Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors. How many times did he try to find the solution to the light bulb problem? We hear that he did over 1,000 experiments until he got one. And he said, yeah, I've got 1,000 ways not to do it. He kept trying exploratory creativity, keep trying, divergent thinking. I try this, it doesn't work. I try this, it doesn't work. He's divergent. He's just, looking for other ways. All right. I hope you're getting something there. So intelligence involves convergent thinking because you're selecting the best outcome or the most accurate solution. That's completely different from creativity, which relies on divergent thinking, which is trying to generate as many solutions and as many responses as possible. Yeah, someone said no idea is stupid. Absolutely, Funke is sure. No idea is stupid. There's no stupid idea. All right, no idea is stupid, because I'm telling you, the craziest idea sometimes has the, is the most valuable one. All right. So intelligence is the ability to acquire knowledge and to utilize it. That's just intelligence is. That's why you see a lot of people, some people say, should I go to college? Or if you look at, the big tech guys, they quote, they mention people like Bill Gates who did not go to school, or they dropped out of college. Should I drop out of college? They don't have a college degree, blah, blah, blah. Listen, those guys had mastery. And intelligence is not just measured by your academic qualification. Of course, there are many types of intelligence. There's what we call fluid intelligence, which is the ability for you to reason and use facts in a different way, for the ability for you to bend knowledge in a way that will work for you, compared to crystallized knowledge or crystallized intelligence, which is just the knowledge of facts. Some people just have crystallized intelligence. They know everything. They know facts. They know who the president is. They know everything. They know what's going on, but they cannot bend it. They cannot use it. They cannot transform it. That's why I like what Albert Einstein said. Creativity is intelligence having fun. They can't have fun with intelligence. Also, what's the point of you going to school, having all your PhDs, and you can't transform it into, what your profession, or use it for something, transform it into something. I'm not saying that all PhDs would, turn into products. My PhD did not turn into product, but my PhD added to the body of knowledge. So yes, I'm not questioning that at all. But what I'm saying is that intelligence on its own is not creativity. When you turn that intelligence into, a novel idea that is useful in that context, then you're creative. But you need a bit of intelligence. That's the threshold effect that you can see on the screen there. You need a certain level of intelligence for you to be creative. Okay, now let me just go very quickly because of time. We know that creativity puts more tasks on the brain, and these are certain studies, and I'll be sharing with you a few studies that show that, you use more horsepower when you're getting into that creative mode. So we know creativity is different from intelligence. All right. So I'm not telling you to be book smart. It's not about you having degrees. All right. Intelligence is not the same as mastery. Knowing your work, and knowing Picasso didn't have a university degree, a PhD in art, but he knew his work. All right. He knew what he had mastery. Okay. Now, I just quickly introduce this concept of neural efficiency. I'm just putting it out there, and I'm going to just gloss over it with time because of time. What I'm just trying to explain here is that people who are more intelligent, all right, are more efficient with the use of their brains. So they are able to achieve the same cognitive tasks faster with less energy than those who are not. And you can actually improve your intelligence. All right. And we can talk about that later. Different things that can make your brain more efficient. So, intelligence is just a measure of neural efficiency. How much cognitive resources, how much your energy would you put into getting the answer? So, if I ask you 23 times 3005, all right, an intelligent person, somebody who is probably talented or gifted in maths, all right, may be able to do that mental arithmetic and give us an answer straight away. All right. Whilst for some of us, we have to write it down and calculate it properly to get the answer. We will still both arrive at the answers. The difference is that we will use more energy, cognitive energy. That means you have to think, some of us will have to do this. Oh, 25 times 3004. You're using so much energy. You get to the answer. Someone else will just tell you, boom, some of these gifted kids, and some of them, let's not talk about that. I don't want to go into that now. I thought I would be able to talk about talents and and some of those other things, but I can't get into that. But they are able to use less energy, consume less of their cognitive and attentional resources in the brain to arrive at the answer. So if you can improve your neural efficiency, you can actually improve your intelligence. So intelligence is not fixed. All right, it's not fixed. Of course, there's a genetic component to intelligence. There's no doubt about that. There's Intelligence is heritable. So you inherit, a large portion of your intelligence, but you can improve it significantly if you can improve your neural efficiency. The other thing I quickly mentioned to you is that creativity thrives on insight. All right. Creativity requires insight. What is insight? Insight is a sudden understanding of a complicated situation. Insight is revelation. Insight is you just that eureka moment. Oh, that aha moment. It comes to you. A lot of creatives are insight generators. A lot of creatives, in fact, ideas come from insights. And that's what divergent thinking occasionally allows you to do. All right. But creativity thrives on insight. That's sudden understanding. This is not logical reasoning now. This is not you trying to work out what is the answer. Sometimes you try working out the answer, you can't get the answer, then suddenly the answer comes to you because you have created a brain state that allows that answer to come to you. For those who are people of faith here, sometimes when revelation comes, that's how it comes because you are in a state where you're ready to receive. You're a state where you're ready to accept and to receive. But when you are thinking and you're cracking your brain and you're trying to work it out, your brain is so busy that you are so you are self-absorbed. You go into that ruminative state of self-talk that you cannot actually activate those weak neuronal connections in your brain to generate insights. That's just the truth. All right. If you heard me talk about insights before, you'd have seen me mention some of these examples of situations where we generate insights. Let me change the dimensions on my screen a little bit so that you guys can see more of what I am sharing. So what are the different ways where we can generate insight? During light activity, like jogging or walking, low intensity cardio exercises. Very common place where people generate insights. How many times has that happened to you? Or in the shower, while you're in the shower, boom, an idea comes to you, boom, it just drops there. Or you're about to go to bed, or when you're doing some household chores, or it could be that when you're just traveling and driving and that idea just comes to you, boom. What is common about all of this? You're in a state of relaxed wakefulness. All these people here are in a state of relaxed wakefulness. They are alert, they are awake, but they are in a state of relaxed wakefulness. Oh, so that means there's a brain state. You can put yourself in a state where you can generate insights. And if you're going to be creative, you must learn how to get yourself into that state of relaxed wakefulness because it will allow you to receive revelation. It will allow you to receive. It will allow you to be able to get ideas and waken those things in you and make those connections. All right. It will allow you to see the pattern. Some people can just see patterns or they can see trends. You can't see trends if your mind is going all right, you've got to be in that state where you can now put, oh, okay, A is connected to B. Oh, there's a trend here, there's a connection. Like those guys that developed the DNA structure, they didn't do any of the work. They just sat back, they knew the science, they had mastery, they had studied, sat back and observed the trends and realized that, oh, if we connect A's work with B's work, with C's work and D's work, we've got the DNA. They got the Nobel Prize. Not one single DNA experiment did they conduct. They were just able to work out the patterns. And guess what? When they wanted to start the genetic code, whatever project, they were the ones, not the people that were laboring all day with DNA, PhD. They didn't have a PhD in DNA or in molecular biology. They were the ones because they could sit back and look. Insights are very essential. If you're going to you generate insights for your family, for your work, for your business, for your church, for whatever, your NGO, whatever you're doing, trying to find solutions, learn to generate insights. How are insights formed? Often starts from a dilemma. You're in a dilemma. Oh, how am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to solve? Many times when you're cracking your brain and you're scratching your brain, no, you're not going to get insights from trying to work it out. Okay. Sometimes you just let it go and you get yourself into a state of reflection and calmness and relaxation. So insights come when you're in a state of reflection and relaxation. Boom, you get the insight. It just comes like, oh, and you get a dopamine hit. Boom. You're like, oh, like Archimedes, Eureka, I got it. I got it. Wow. Yeah, this is it. This is it. It's so clear to you. You get it. It's not because you've tried to work out the answer. No, it comes to you and it leads to creative action. Every time you get insight, you get that dopamine hit. And remember the dopamine, the reward system, you just get that energy that pushes you on to creativity. To creativity. Insights very essential for creativity. Let's quickly talk about brain waves that underpin insights. Okay, let me just introduce you to some brain waves. All right, some of the waves in the brain waves that we know. Okay, so we start with the delta waves. The delta waves, we often see them when we're in deep sleep. Okay, the brain waves are so slow. When someone is unconscious, you get the delta waves. Then you have the theta waves, which often occurs when you are like in a dreaming or trance state or when you're in intense visualization. And then you have the alpha waves, which is very important. The alpha waves is that wave, when you're in that zone of just before you get into that creative space. All right, all right. It's a state of relaxation. That's it. The alpha state, the relaxed wakefulness, and it's very prominent in the visual cortex in the back part of the brain where the visual cortex is. So when you're sitting down and you're just in that relaxed state, all right, and you can see things in that state of relaxation, alpha, it's usually accentuated when your eyes are closed. You wonder why those people who pray with their eyes closed. All right. Because they get, when you close your eyes, you reduce visual input, you reduce the busyness of your brain. You're not distracted. So that visual input, which activates your brain and makes your brain busy, is taken off. You cut off, once you cut off that vision, your vision, all right, your alpha waves, which interestingly are in the visual cortex, become more prominent. When you're looking at stuff, you can't, your alpha waves go down. But when you close your eyes, the alpha waves come up. All right. And you're in that zone. Okay. That zone. Okay. And of course, the beta waves is when, oh, you're busy and you're concentrating and you're cracking your brain and you're thinking very hard. All right. Your brain is busy. You can look at the waves going very fast waves, trying to work it out. Sometimes when you have a problem that you can't solve, just leave it there. All right. Just leave it there. That doesn't mean you don't brainstorm and all that. We'll talk about that later. Okay, in fact, brainstorming is not what we think it is. Brainstorming is a different thing entirely. Okay, but the beta waves. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. Okay, and then you've got the gamma waves, which is when people get insight. All right, so alpha waves is that state of relaxation and wakefulness. When you're relaxed, you're not sleeping, you're in a non-sleep rest, deep rest, but you're not sleeping. You're alert, but you're calm and alert, and you're in that state of rest and wakefulness. Oftentimes that's why people meditate. You hear meditation, because meditation gets you into that state. And any spiritual person would understand what I'm talking about. That's why most spiritual practices has to do with, calmness and being in that kind of silence. The other few months ago, I did a webinar on the neuroscience of silence. Go to my YouTube, you'll see that another 2 or 3 hour webinar on the neuroscience of silence and how therapeutic and powerful silence is. All right, because when you learn to get into that zone of silence, you open up the door to revelation. You open up the door to insights. And when you get the insights, boom, your brain goes busy. I found it, gamma waves. Boom, there's something that you found something. So look at the alpha and the gamma effect. All right. Just before you generate insight, you have that alpha, you're relaxed. All right. And boom, insight comes, boom, your gamma wave goes up. It goes up. So you start from that state of relaxation where you're relaxed and alert, and then you get into that creative flow. That creative flow, you're in your zone. You're just there, everything, you're in flow. All right. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. Sometimes I like, as a teacher, I like to see my audience and be able to feel my audience. Um, Let me just see. Can you just put a few comments there? Let me just see. Yeah, creativity is intelligence, having fun. Yes, Albert Einstein. Einstein. Yeah, very powerful. That is very powerful. That is. All right, let me move on because of time. Yeah, Kingsley says amazing session. Thank you. Ola says ideas come from insights. Great. Yes, fantastic. Alrighty, let me move on because of time. Thank you for staying with me, guys. And of course, this will be on my YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and you can always come back to watch it if you have to go. So insights come from those deep connections. All right, now before I go on to, because very soon after this, I will be really diving into um, the effective arcs for creative ideas. So you don't want to miss what I'm going to talk about next. Effective arcs for creative ideas. I'm going to give you some practical things you can do now. Now, the things you can do now to start generating creative ideas and to start generating insights. Okay. Um, All right. Before I do that, let me just tell you about my online course. It's called the Neuroscience of Leadership and Performance. All right, you should get this online course. Okay, you can copy that screen right now, and my team will put on the link there. You can enroll and get a part and be a part of this course. Okay, or you can. I'm not sure whether this is a wait list or whether this link will lead you directly to the course, but yes, bit.ly/neurolead course. So the neuroscience of leadership and performance. I'm going to there. I talked about the brain, and you're going to learn a lot about how the brain works and how you can operate at peak performance and how you can improve your leadership using neuroscience. Okay, it's worth it. This course is a worth the investment. So yeah, it's about 6 modules, and we would sort of explore different aspects of the brain. It's a self-paced course, so although there'll be specific start times. All right, we're going to run it like 4 or 5 times a year, but during that period of time you can do it in 2 3 days or 1 2 weeks or 2 to 3 months. So it's self-paced, but you're going to learn a lot, and after that you're going to get a certificate of proficiency in neuroscience of leadership and performance. So I encourage you get in there. All right. So let's get back to effective acts now for creative ideas. Okay, so let's be practical now. All the things I've been talking about, how can I translate? I'm sure you're asking, how can I translate this into reality? How can I make this work for me? All right. How can I translate this into reality? Let me take off my glasses for a second. Effective acts for creative ideas. Okay, so two things I would encourage you to do or think about. Number one, learn to control your environment. And number two, learn to think. Learn to control, learn to think. If you want to be an ideas generator and learn how to generate creative ideas, two very quick, very important things for you to note. You need to know how to control your environment and how to think. Learn how to manage your environment. It's very important. And you must also learn how to think. Okay. Controlling your environment. Controlling your environment. Okay. How do we do that? Let's go. So, I'm going to give you a few different practical things that can help you control your internal and external environment. Internal environment is essential as your external environment. And you have to learn how to guide your space. Because if you allow your life to just be on autopilot and you don't have control of your internal or external space, you are going to get it wrong all the time. You're going to miss it. You're going to miss it all the time. So, I'm going to give you a few practical things, okay, that would help you in this regard. Number one, humor. Humor is really essential. Humor is very beneficial, and you can see they have quoted a few studies there. It's been established a positive affect has a beneficial influence on creative problem solving. Expose yourself to fun. It's there's no doubt about it. I don't have too much time to start talking about that because it's still the dopamine effect. Watch cartoon, not cartoons now. Watch funny things. Watch comedy skits. You know, be exposed to fun, be exposed to humor. All right. And what is funny for everyone is different, but find something that's funny and learn to laugh. All right, learn to laugh because you release endorphins, you receive you release dopamine that would activate your reward system that will get you going. All right, so include humor in your personal protocol and have time to relax. I do that often. All right, maybe once a day or once every 2 days. I would just go on YouTube and watch some nice funny YouTube skits. I don't overdo it. You don't want to spend hours all there, laughing out. But sometimes my wife will come and say, "Why am I just laughing at myself?" Yeah. Yesterday I watched one interesting comedy. It's this European kind of comedy. They were not talking, but it was just really, really funny. They were pranks. It was a prank show. I was just watching the prank show, and I was like, "Wow, this is really interesting." I was just laughing. All right. And it was before work. I was about to start my clinic at 9 o'clock. And for like 10, 15 minutes before my clinic started, I was tired. I was just watching YouTube in my office and I was just, enjoying the comedy. All right. Learn to expose yourself to humor. I started with that. It's very essential. Number two, aerobic exercise. All right. It's been shown to be effective. Do you know that Steve Jobs was all a big advocate of walking meetings? If you wanted to have a creative meeting with Steve Jobs when he was alive, he would take, let's go for a walk. And he would walk around, the Apple campus with people. They would often see him walking around. Learn to walk, take a walk. Sometimes, if you want to generate insight and you're in the office, you're banging your head, just drop it, take a walk, just walk, just take a walk. Or you do light exercise. Remember, when you're in that zone, you're calm. You reduce your stress levels. You cut down your adrenaline. All right, and then you can get yourself into the zone. All right, there's no doubt about that. The other thing about aerobic exercise is that aerobic exercises activates the brain to produce what we call brain-derived neurotropic factor (BDNF). You don't need to remember that. But what does BDNF do? BDNF helps to produce new brain cells and it can help with what we call neurogenesis, particularly in the memory area. So it can help with memory consolidation, help you to learn new skills, and even help you with problem solving. So if you want to start a new activity, you want to start a new project, and you want to incorporate something into your protocol, introduce number one, humor. Have time to take a break and just laugh and enjoy yourself. Watch comedy, or it may maybe not be on TV on the phone. It could be any kind of humor. It could be in conversation and just talking and laughing and sharing stories. Number two, find time for some aerobic exercise, whether it's light walking. I'm not talking about going to the gym and killing yourself. Just something decent and simple that will make you breathe faster, and like zone 2 cardio, not more than that. Number 3, all right, relaxation. Systematic relaxation has been shown to be very effective, all right, in enhancing creativity. There's no doubt about that. And you can get that through meditation, mindfulness, or just listening to silence. Just lie down and be silent. And your mind may want to wander and all that. Yeah, let your mind wander at times, but just there, just be there. Just find a way to anchor your mind. Just be silent. I talked about that in my webinar on the neuroscience of silence, learning to listen to silence and learning to just calm down, all right, and not just talk. Because when you're in that zone, you're more likely to get inspiration or ideas or insight. All right, daydreaming, yeah, daydreaming. Now you don't have to overdo it, but I read that it's only the future that you picture that you would feature. Always play that, because when you daydream, you get a dopamine effect. I've said it, I think, a few times, where sometimes I just daydream and I'll be smiling because I'm painting a picture of the future that I want. All right. So you're starting a business. Paint that picture. Create that pathway in your brain, because it allows you to divert your cognition and your attentional resources to that project. See yourself doing it. See it. See it. That's part of goal setting. We talk about whole brain goal setting. All right. That's you seeing it, seeing your goal, feeling your goal. Right. See it, feel it. Let it be deep. Let it be deep. Right, that's it. If you have a why, you've got to daydream about your why. You've got to. Right, I don't have too much time for this. It's also very important for visualization. Picture it, picture it, picture it. People talk about vision boards. That's what vision boards help you to maintain mental focus. Visual focus sustains mental focus. I've said it a few times. Mental focus is easy to be lost when you just because of the busyness of life. You get too busy, you lose focus mentally. But one way to reinforce your mental focus is visual focus. So if you're forgetting your goal is to lose 10 kilograms of your weight in 6 months, better put a poster on your wall of yourself in 6 months, and you remind yourself, you re-anchor yourself. So if you're drifting away, you got something to pull you back. Okay. Novelty, exposure to different experiences and different cultures and different perspectives. I told you the last few weeks now I've been reading about arts, different types of art, all right, the history of art. I've been reading about Picasso, Leonardo da Vinci, all these different Van Gogh, all these different people. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I never knew that world. Like I knew nothing about the world. Exposure, expose yourself. Don't be just there. I'm not saying you should be a master of everything. No, you can't be a master of everything. But the more you expose yourself to different cultures, different perspectives, some people just live in this echo chamber where they only listen to people that look like them, that talk like them, and believe what they believe. They are not exposed to other people. I remember once, I had my coach, she just shared with me. She was like, why not let's get you out mingling and all that. So I joined one of these groups on LinkedIn, and they were having an event in the city, and it was in a pub. Listen, maybe I've been to a pub less than 5 times since I've been here, and it's been a very long time that I went there. So it was a pub in the city. So it was after work, so I finished and I went there to the city. And I lived in the west, so it's a bit of a drive, to the city. But I took that, like 45 minutes, 1 hour drive. And I got there, and I'm telling you, it was an amazing night. Initially, when I got there, I realized that wow, I was the only black dude there, and nobody was coming to me. But very quickly, I just shook that off, and I approached people and I introduced myself. And before you know it, I was in my zone. I was meeting people, and if you know how many connections I had that day, including people that were like top connections, and it was just really amazing. Like wow, meet new people. And you know what? I didn't realize I was so special. Now I know I'm special, but everybody's special. But people were fascinated about what I was doing, my background, and when they heard, oh, you're a neurologist and you're involved in neuroscience. And at the time I had about 5 or 6 people, with me, and we're just all listening to me, and they were asking me questions, and I was having a good time, and we exchanged cards, connected on LinkedIn, and just very interesting stuff. Maybe one of them is even watching me right now because she's a fan on LinkedIn now. We connect a lot and all that. You see, meet people. go for conferences. I remember a conference that changed my life was in Vienna. I think I've shared, if you've heard me talk about this, I traveled to Vienna for a conference, and um, it was a conference on the use of ultrasound technology in assessing nerve and muscle disease. So I went for this conference, and I just sat on my table, and the convener came to sit in front of me. I didn't even know he was the convener of the conference, like the big boss, an Italian man. And he asked me, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "I'm not in the mood, man. I'm just," but I smiled back, and I just out of respect to have a conversation with him. And I said, "Oh, I'm good. I'm from Sydney." And he said, "Oh, you're from Sydney. Well, you don't look like an Australian." I said, "Oh, what does an Australian look like?" In my mind, I was already like, better don't start that conversation right now. What do you mean by I don't look like I'm an Australian? You know what I mean? I knew what it meant, but it was not, it wasn't trying to be difficult or racist or anything. I think he was just trying to, have a conversation. I didn't know who he was actually. He just introduced himself by his first name. It was later during the conversation when he told me his last name. I was like, "Whoa!" I'm sitting in front of royalty, and we're having breakfast together. It was breakfast in the hotel, just before the session started, the morning session. So I was the only one. All the people were all paired up, but I was the only one on my table. I just was there having my breakfast, not talking to anyone, not in the mood. I was jet lagged. I traveled 2 hours, 2 days from Sydney to Vienna, and the conference was only for 2 days, 2 nights. So I got there, I was jet lagged, I was tired. There was a morning session, I was feeling sleepy, and this man came to chat me up. And I'm telling you, I am glad I put my ego aside, I put my feelings aside and had that conversation with him because it literally changed my life. When I told him I was interested in ultrasound research, he said, "You're interested in ultrasound research? Come, 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 come." We finished breakfast and he took me to the expo hall where all these big companies, GE, all these different companies were. And he took me to one of the European companies and said, "Hey, this young man has traveled from Australia. He wants to do a research in using ultrasound technology. Can you support him?" And that was it. And I exchanged cards with the man, that man, a European guy. I don't even know his name. I've even lost the card. When I go back to Sydney, I sent that man an email that, "Hey, I want to start the research now. What can we do?" Guess what? Within a few months, I had a brand new $60,000 machine in my hospital campus. My head of department could not believe it. They brought this brand new machine to me, and within the next 6 months, I recruited over 200 patients and I started studying them, studying their nerves. That study became the first chapter of my PhD. It became the first chapter of my PhD. And I ended up having a PhD. The title of my PhD was Ultrasound, Use of Ultrasound in Peripheral Neuropathy. And it won me the Best Thesis of the Year award, the Dean's Best Thesis of the Year award. That research won me. It started in Vienna on a morning that I was exhausted, tired, but I just pushed a little bit, pushed myself a little bit to engage a man. I did not know that man. A lot of us would have met people that would elevate us. A lot of people will meet people. You'll meet people that they'll connect you. But if your attitude stinks, if you're not open to meeting new people, some of you go for conferences and you only hang out with the people that you traveled with. Meet new people, introduce yourself, learn it. And if you, oh gosh, time is going now. Time is going, 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 going. Let me move on. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. I hope I am making sense. I think my team will be talking to me right now and saying, "Hey, let me see. Time is going. Hey, yeah, all right, all right." So let me quickly go to the next one. Sleep. Sleep improves working memory and divergent thinking. There's no doubt about that. Sleep, sleep, sleep. All right. Sleep is very essential for learning. It's essential for neuroplasticity. In fact, neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain to modulate itself and adjust itself, is perfected in sleep. All right, nature. Expose yourself to nature. Engaging with nature reduces stress, improves our awareness. I'm giving you practical things you can do. Always expose yourself to nature. Find time to walk in, nature. Expose yourself to nature. If you don't have, you live in the city and you don't have an opportunity to be exposed to nature, then just watch documentaries about nature and get yourself in the zone. Watch all those David Attenborough's documentaries and all of that. So, nature is very powerful in sparking imagination. Nature is very powerful in creating that ambience. So control your environment, expose yourself more to nature. All right, have time to walk, have time to have fun, meet new people, join groups that would, of people that are different from you, and get new perspectives. You'll be surprised what you will learn. All right, bring games, very helpful as well. Do bring games, they improve focus, they help problem solving, they can enhance, and you can find different apps and games and puzzles and books that can help you train your brain. All right, very helpful. Music. Listening to music activates all areas of your brain. Do you know that when you listen to music, you're not just activating your frontal brain, your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, your feeling, your emotions. You get music, and even before you know it, it goes into your subconscious. Music invades your subconscious. How many times do you listen to a song and then somewhere else you're just singing the song? You're just singing the song. The song has registered into your memory. How many times do you just sing it? The other day, I think yesterday or so, the day there's a World Cup going. The Women World Cup is going on in Nigeria. I'm sorry, in Australia currently, and Nigeria played against Australia yesterday, and Nigeria won the game. We were watching it live, right? That was when I realized that, man, I'm still as Nigerian as the calm. Like, even though I'm Aussie, like, I love Nigeria, man. And I was so happy that we won the game. And after the game, they were playing one of this Nigeria's popular musicians. Was the like in Australia, in the stadium. We were hearing it from our homes and TV. And I recognized it. I don't sing the song, but I know it's a popular act. And I just recognized it. Of course, it's Afrobeat, so it sounded really nice. All right. And I was like, I recognized it because I've heard it in different places. All right. So music activates all your brain. Some people study, when they study, they get some music. Maybe, it could be natural sounds, classical music, instrumentals, whatever it is that just gets you into the zone. All right. Some people do workouts and they're trying to get into the zone, and they put some sort of very heavy rock or whatever kind of music. It depends on your taste. All right. And I'm not here to prescribe whatever, but music is very essential. Like, it helps with creativity if you expose yourself to music from time to time. I'm not saying that you listen to music when you want to do like something that is very analytical. Probably not a good idea. All right. So, like, you're trying to, write an essay. It may not be the best time to put on one heavy, song with a lot of lyrics that would distract you. Your mind will just keep distracting, just, be distracted. That's called multitasking. All right. And in fact, I put this up here that children that are exposed to musical training actually get a lot more transferable skills. All right. And so, not only do they learn how to play instruments better, but they improve their verbal memory, they improve their listening, their executive functions, their fine motor skills, their social skills. Music is really essential. Okay, gosh. I just want to finish creativity. I don't want to hold you guys. So I'm going to finish it up. Even if you can come back and watch this video on YouTube. Okay. I know some of you have dropped out, but you can always come back to watch it. It's streamed on YouTube. It will be there for you to watch. Okay. But my webinars are so loaded. And so I don't do 45-minute webinars. So next time when you're coming, it's a 3-hour show, 3-hour show, because we go into the details. I borrowed this slide from my session on the neuroscience of silence. All right. I feel it's very important. One effective thing you can do, dial down the noise. Okay. Disconnect from overload. Take time from social media from time to time. Disconnect. Learn to declutter your world internally and externally. Delegate when necessary, and develop habits of silence. I'm not going to talk too much about that, okay, because I do not have time. So, the other thing I want to quickly talk about is learning to think, learn how to think. We're talking about effective acts. I've just talked about learning how to control your environment. And there I've talked about humor, relaxation, exercise, sleep, and all the other things. Now, learn how to think, all right? And I got this from the design people. Those who are working in design will know what I'm talking about now. I'm about to talk about the double D thinking strategy. This is what I would suggest to you. There are different thinking strategies, but this is my suggested thinking strategy. It's a combination of divergent and convergent thinking. So if you have a problem, start divergent, start with divergent thinking. Question the problem, question the reasons. And when you question the problem, you discover different things. You learn the problem. That's how you research a problem. Why do we do it this way? And why do I have to do it this way? Don't even go to the answer yet. Don't call and follow the answer. Okay, this coffee machine is broken. Why is it broken? All right. How many of it is broken? Are there other complaints like this online? Do I have other people who have the same experience? Is there something defective about this? Is it the way I use it? Is it question, discover? That's divergent thinking. Open your mind to different options. Don't just say, oh, I'm claiming warranty and I'm doing this and that. You don't know what you would get out of that. Okay. Now, when you have discovered a few options, you then go back to convergent thinking. So you start with divergent thinking to discover. Now, when you've discovered a few of the options, you now go to convergent thinking, which is to define your options properly. All right. And find out, okay, what now that I've seen all the problems associated with this problem, what problem, which of them will I solve? Maybe the problem that you're seeing is not the root cause of the problem. Maybe there's something deeper. Divergent thinking opens your eyes to see what the deeper cause is, and then you can fix the root cause or the risk factors or the predisposing factors. Otherwise, you'll just be treating the symptom and the disease will be there because the symptom is what you see. So if you come to me and you say, hey, doc, I've got a headache, I've got to think divergently as a doctor. Because if you come to me and you're describing migraines, I can give you Panadol, I can give you medications, I can even inject you with Botox and say, let me treat your migraines. But I have to open my mind. Why is this person having migraine? What is the cause of the migraine? Do they have a brain tumor? Do they have MS? I open up my mind to all of those options. So that's why in medicine, they teach us about differential diagnosis, meaning that even if somebody has, presents with migraine and you think they have migraine, open up your mind. In medicine, we don't use words, two words in medicine we don't use. Always, never. They don't exist. You always have to I've just used the word always now. I'm not in medicine. But you always, as a doctor, have to expose yourself to different options because people are different and everybody will not present like the textbook. So they may come with what looks like a migraine, but they may have, and I've seen it before, somebody with a brain tumor will present it with a headache. And thank God I didn't just give them a pill. You know what? It's unusual for you to just develop migraines at the age of 50 or 60. Why don't I just get a brain MRI scan just to be sure? Boom. Of course, the brain MRI scan came back. Boom. A tumor. The other day, just this week, all right, I had a patient who came in with what looked like a stroke. The GP sent them to me for symptoms of a stroke, and I examined them thoroughly, and they looked like a stroke. But guess what? Sent them for an MRI scan, and just yesterday, I was called by the radiologist saying, "Hey, this person has a brain tumor." So I had to call the patient, "Hey, come to the hospital straight away." But you've got to open up your mind to those opportunities, to those options. Sorry, divergent thinking. It's not always what it looks like. Don't be in a rush to just conclude. Diverge. And then when you have your options, converge. And now when you converge, you diverge again to deduce the solution. So you diverge on the problem, converge on what the root cause is. Now diverge again on the solutions to that problem. Okay? So the person that has a brain tumor who initially came with migraine, I have to diverge. What will I do? What are the options? All right. Diverge on the options. Should we offer surgery? Should I refer them to a surgeon? Should I refer them to chemotherapy? Should I do this? Should I do that? And then you converge again on what you think is the most appropriate thing. That kind of thinking strategy will help you with a lot of things when you want to do them. Okay. So diverge, the double D strategy. It's not novel. This is something that is used by designers. Okay. So another way of looking at it is this: diverge initially, discover what are all the possible causes of this problem. And then you define it. What one cause should we try to solve when you've gathered all the different data? Okay, and then you diverge again. What are the possible solutions to this problem I've decided to solve? And then what is the best solution out of all these options? So quickly, I'll talk about. I'm almost running up now. I think one or two more slides. Suggested ideas generators. Okay, brainstorming. So brainstorming is important because brainstorming involves a group of people. So you can't brainstorm on your own. If you brainstorm on your own, you're just stressing yourself too much. Best way to brainstorm is to have other people, and I do that sometimes. I gather people together, and I have someone, we'll just be together and we'll just review things and we just talk around things. And in brainstorming, that brainstorming uses divergent thinking. So no idea is a stupid idea. Just put everything on the table. There's no judgment here. So you do that from time to time. You get people that you trust, come together. Let's brainstorm. All right. This is the problem I'm seeing. I'm seeing this problem. Let's just work out ideas. No stupid idea there's no stupid idea here. Let's just put everything on the table. There's no crazy idea. Everything, let's just put it there. Okay. So brainstorming, What about reverse brainstorming? Reverse brainstorming is where you just come and start looking for problems. So unlike brainstorming where you're looking for, you know, possible solutions to a problem, here in reverse brainstorming, let's just come and look at problems. So you can reverse brainstorm for your community, for example, and list the five top needs of your community. All right. I challenge you to do that. 10 kilometers radius from where you live, go and do some reverse brainstorming with a few friends and come up with the top five needs of the people within a 10-kilometer radius of where you live. If you want to start a business, choose one of them. You want to start a side hustle? Do reverse brainstorming. Of course, that would involve a bit of research, and you can do a bit of research and all that, and then you come together and then you brainstorm. All right, and look for problems. You're not looking for solutions in reverse brainstorming. You're just looking for solutions. What about the worst idea technique? That's where you come up with the worst solution possible. And then you start from there and you start analyzing why that's a bad solution. Sometimes when you analyze why a solution is a bad solution, you may get a good solution. That's one way to generate insights. But all of this is within a group. It avoids groupthink. You don't want to be in a group where somebody says something and everybody just say, oh, yeah, we'll go because they are the most experienced. They have a PhD. No, that's groupthink. You just follow, someone. No, let's start with the worst ideas. We're not going to start with the best ideas. What's the craziest idea that you have? And why is that bad? And and you just analyze that and you'll be surprised what that would do for you and how much of a difference that can make. Um, what about constraint identification, identifying bottlenecks? Let's just sit down and look for a problem. What are the potential bottlenecks with this? And you can even do that for any product. You can pick up a product or you pick up any service and say, what is the big bottleneck? Why is it that we can't find, I'm looking for a handyman or I'm looking for someone to cut my lawn. Why can't I find, someone to cut my lawn? Why is it that people can't get scholarships in my city, international scholarships? Maybe you're in Nigeria, in Africa, whatever. Why is it that people can't get scholarships or people that get scholarships? What is the main bottleneck in people getting access to scholarship? Is that they don't get information? Maybe you can start something there and open up that bottleneck. You never know. That's an idea generator. Looking for constraints in society. All right. People still get it done, but there's just a bottleneck where there's a crowd and there's no access. Look for bottlenecks. You'll be surprised. Strength, weaknesses, that SWOT analysis. I won't spend too much time on that. All right. What about feature comparisons? If you're interested in products in particular, just take two products. All right. iPhone, Samsung, list all the features. All right. Now that's just a very, that's a capital intensive thing, but it could be any simple product. Just put them together and do a comparison. You'll be surprised to find that nothing is perfect. There may be a gap there in the market. There may be a gap in the market that, okay, this device does ABC. This one does EFG. No device does HIJ. Maybe that is it. That is it. Okay. Imagery, we've talked about that. Visualization, so powerful. Visual symbolism, so powerful. And exposure to other ideas. And that's where, meeting people, exposure to other people's ideas. All right. Not stealing other people's ideas, but exposure. And where do you get exposure to other people's ideas? In meetings, in webinars, in conferences. All right. Attend meetings, attend conferences, read journals, read papers. What has happened? You may read that somebody has done what you want to do before. All you need to just do is just a bit of exploratory creativity. Tinkle with it a little bit, and just move it a little bit, and you'll get the outcome. Like John Dunlop did, like some of these other creators that have done. They've achieved great things. And I'm sure if we go through all innovations and businesses, you see a lot of businesses that all they did was just to put an existing idea, a bit of combinational creativity, put a bit of a label, put a logo, redesign it. Some people just change stuff, even music. All right. Look at one of these most powerful music songs that I think Whitney Houston sang, and it was Dolly Parton's song. I've forgotten the name of the song, but I read about Whitney Houston's one of her greatest hits. She didn't write the song; she just put a twist on Dolly Parton's. Dolly Parton is still making money from that song up till now. All right, because she was a songwriter. All right, twist. It could be something existing. Exposure to other people's ideas. All right, it will also be an idea generator for you. Look at this man, the Chinese, filmmaker. He's doing his own art, but that's a Picasso that he bought for $30 million. All right, that's one of a portrait of Picasso's wife. Now, don't ask me what that looks like. It doesn't look like his wife. No, that's cubism. That's cubism. That's valuable. $30 million worth of art. and he's just using it as an inspiration to do his own work. Exposure to other people's ideas. Celebrate people that have gone ahead of you. Expose yourself to their ideas. You see, when you expose, what that artwork is doing there is to activate his brain in a way that would get him into that creative space. All right. He's not copying it. He's not trying to repaint this. He's doing his own. And you can see, I think he's making landscape external. What he's doing is like maybe painting nature. All right. Expose yourself to other people's work. Sometimes one of the things you can do before you do your own task, especially if you're trying to create stuff from ground, like painting art, or you're trying to write a script or write a paper, all right, just get inspiration from someone, read about someone, prime yourself, read about someone, do something that will just get you in the groove. Watch a like, was it this team, they were about to play in the World Cup final, and the day before they watched a war movie about going to war, soldiers going to war. What has a war movie got to do with the final, World Cup final? But that war movie and seeing soldiers and heroes fighting for their country, you know what it does to them? Cognitively primes them for action. Primes them for action. When they're going on on the field, they're not shooting with guns. They're playing sport. It's a friendly thing. It's sports. But you know what? They're on the edge. They're desperate. They want to win something for their country. They want to put them. They're ready to commit themselves, take the extra tackle, stretch themselves a bit more, put in more pressure, work harder. Even when they're tired, work harder than the opponent. Because the night before, they watched a movie and saw young men lay their lives down for their country. Exposure. Exposure. It doesn't have to be in your field, it can be in another field. That's why I like reading about stories. I like reading about people, young people. The other fascinating thing about what I was reading about was that I was asking my question, why did all these great creators, a lot of great creators, die so young? Mozart, Van Gogh, a few of these people, they died young. Picasso is one of the few people that lived so long. Why did all these people die in their 40s and 50s, some of them in their 20s and 30s? It's something I still realize. We'll check. The other thing I realized that some of these great innovators had mental health issues. And I'm not sure what the connection is between them, or there's a family history of mental health issues. That's a whole different, that's not for this webinar. But that aroused my curiosity. So I said, you know what, I'm going to read about that. That has nothing to do with what I do, my day job. And what I'm teaching now is not my day job. But I'm just fascinated about knowledge and exposure and learning and helping people get better. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for being with me today. Now I have time to take some questions. Okay, so prepare your questions for those of you who are still with me. I know some people have dropped out, but it's all right. If you've dropped out and you had to go because of the length of the webinar, that's fine. You're forgiven. Just send me an email. Send me an email with your question. If hopefully I'll be able to answer that at some point. Please do not forget about the online course I've talked about. Okay, you can always register for this online course, and you will benefit from it. Watch out, new book alert. I've got a book coming out, and it's with very wonderful friends. Okay, Sam Mekundayo is an author there, Larry Abiodun, Charles Ball, Esther Adeyinka Tolu, and Mofo and Fofo. So we've got amazing co-authors changing you. This is a compendium. I'm going to talk more about it when I send you an email about this book. You should get this book. It will change your life. All right. And of course, you've got my other books there. You can always get them. They are available online. All right, I'll take questions now. Thank you for being with me. Wow, how many hours have we been here for now? Yeah, 2.5 hours of talking. Fantastic. Guys, do you have any questions? So team, please, are there any questions there? Can we just display on the screen? Questions. If you have any questions, yeah, okay. While we're waiting for the questions, I'll just read some of the Temi Talk Super Session. God bless you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, thank you. Incredible advice, meeting new people. Yes, incredible advice. Music, the super highway to all your brain parts. Yes, that's it. Music, music, music. Really good. Timothy, yeah, Timothy, all the way from Dallas, Texas. Yes. Yeah, Timothy. Ola, don't let your attitude stink. Yes, don't let your attitude stink. Michael says, thank you for sharing another. Thank you, Michael. If you have a question, please put up your question there. Put on your question there. We would be happy to answer your question. Thank you for all the kind words that you're expressing. I can see your comments. Okay, this is my son asks questions such as what if all fishes in the ocean are sharks? And I often discourage this type of thinking. I think it's a bit extreme. Am I doing the right thing? Well, your son has a great mind. What if all the fishes in the ocean all are sharks? That's a good thought. I never thought of that before. As I said, there's no stupid idea. It may be, it may not make sense initially, but who knows? Not we know that all fishes in the oceans are not sharks, but there's something you can learn from there. So if I were you, I'll think about it and find an answer for him. I wouldn't say shut up or no, it doesn't make sense. You know, I would I'll find meaning in that question. So if all the fishes in the ocean are sharks, then will they eat themselves? And that's probably something that we'll learn from ourselves. Everybody cannot be a creative genius. Everybody cannot be Albert Einstein, but everybody can exhibit creativity. Everybody will not be Steve Jobs, all right, to file a patent, but everybody can still be creative. So not everybody will be creative geniuses. We are not all creative geniuses, but we're all creative. That's it. So we're not all geniuses, but we're all intelligent in one way or the other, and we can improve our intelligence. We can improve our creativity. We can all grow. We all have potential. There's no doubt about that. All right, Afolabi, yeah, you mentioned that creative idea is noble and useful. At times, we need to sell our ideas to others. Can you talk more about selling ideas and how to do it? Yeah, amazing. So pitching your ideas is that's a whole different webinar, but it starts with the idea itself. You can't pitch what you know. One of the frustrating things I see is that people pitch what they've not done, they've not tested. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're pitching to someone to collaborate to help you push it forward, that's different. But I see people who have an idea. If you've not put it to paper, you've not taken any step. It's just something in your head. It will make no sense. So something that is in your head, like, is just in your head. That's it. It's an idea. It's nothing more. All right. But now that you have the idea, you then have to take steps. You then have to, and if you need a coach for that, if you need someone to hold you accountable for that, you need to take steps. All right. So go register the business. Go start some training on it. You've got an idea to start something, but you need a qualification in order for you to get a license to do that thing. Do you understand? Oh, you have the idea of starting a child care center, but you know that in the city you live, child care center owners are it's regulated business. Or you want to start a teens program, you have a calling for young people, teenagers. Why not just go and get some certification in the teens department, like in the teens as a teens coach? And there are a lot of teens coaches out there. It's your passion. Get that certification. You've not even enrolled and you're looking for funding. That's what I see. There's no effort, but you're looking for somebody a lot of people let me tell you, when you apply yourself to it, your funding will find you. When I told you about the Vienna trip, I self-financed myself to Vienna. I would not have met that man if I was in Sydney. Nobody would have supported me in Sydney. I heard about the conference. I was interested in ultrasound, and I heard about the conference. I researched. I was just googling, and I found, oh, there's this conference there. And I told my wife I want to travel down there, and I saved my money, and I kept everything, and I traveled down to Vienna. Okay, and I'm glad I was there, because if I wasn't, the man looked at me. You took the effort to come all the way from Sydney to here, and I traveled 2 days for a 2 day conference, and I traveled 2 days back. So I spent more time in the plane than in the actual conference. That was how committed I was. The conference was 2 days, Friday, Saturday, and I went for 2 days. It took me 2 days because I went with a cheap flight, I think Fin Air. Oh God, my layover was long, and then it took me a long time to come back. But guess what? It made a whole lot of difference because I met that person and he was able to connect me with someone else. So, but at that time when I was speaking to him, he knew that this guy had done his work. I had the idea of doing research in ultrasound. What I was basically telling him was a proposal. And I was telling him how I started, how I read a paper. I was doing a journal club and I read a paper and I was interested in this and I want to know about this. And I told him about diabetes and I told him a personal story, how my father had diabetes and he had diabetic neuropathy and an amputation of his leg. And I want to, so I have a why. There's a reason why I want to study what happens in the nerves of diabetes patients. Half of my PhD was on people with diabetes who had diabetes nerve injury, diabetic neuropathy. And I was using ultrasound to check their nerves But I had a why because my father had that same condition and he died from it. And I wanted to really explore and add to knowledge. I wanted to contribute my own knowledge to help advance and look for a cure for diabetes and diabetic neuropathy. I'd not, that conversation, it wasn't an empty conversation. It was like, what do you think? What do you think? Oh, no, what do you think? No. So you get the idea, you work, read papers, travel for conferences, join a meeting, enroll in a program, enroll in a program. My coach, Wendy Burns, I met her on a John Maxwell certification call. I enrolled, I put down my money, joined the call, and I asked a question on the call. And then we connected. She realized I was from Sydney, and whoa, she was one of my first coaches, and she made a whole lot of difference in my life. So, guys, you got to take that step. So, selling the idea starts from you doing something. Sell it to yourself first before you sell it to any other person. Be convinced about it. Find your why. Be able to communicate your why. Then you, of course, you practice your why. Practice how to sell. Practice how to pitch. In the universities, we have in our university we have a 3 minute thesis. How do you communicate your all research in 3 minutes? You should learn to practice that, and you can find videos on YouTube that can help you. Find somebody to help you with that. How can I rehearse and pitch someone in 3 minutes? All right, and you don't have to always say your suffering story. The suffering story. Oh, I suffered my life. Some people, they want to talk about, they want your help, and they just go on about how they've suffered. Well, nobody, listen, nobody cares that your life was tough. When it comes to the ideas game, nobody cares. Like if you come to me and you're like, oh, I suffered, well, everybody suffered. Tell me your idea. Tell me how you got it, what it will do. Tell me the value. Tell me the novelty. Remember, every creative idea, novelty. Tell me how your idea is novel. Tell me how it's useful in your community. It may be novel in your, it may not be. Listen, for example, I might have an idea in Australia right now that if I take to, let's say, Nigeria, or I take to America, will make me a millionaire. All right. But here, it may not be very useful here because maybe people here don't care. All right. But if I take it somewhere else, boom, that's it. So it may not be novel here, but it's novel there and it's useful there. Pitch it to me. Tell me. 3 minutes. Tell me. You don't have too much time. Don't start telling me your life story about how you didn't have money or whatever it is. You get it wrong. Okay, let me move on quickly. Just put another question. How can the process of idea generation be structured to ensure efficiency and productivity? And what role does curiosity play in sparking you? Oh my God, this is a whole webinar, Eric. Thank you for joining, Eric. Idea generation, yes. In fact, let me tell you, I had a slide on idea generation. I had about 6 steps for ideas generation. All right. But I had to take it out of my slides. So by the time I finished this webinar, my original slides, I had 130 slides. But I think I only talked about 72 slides. So I had 130 some slides on creativity alone. Remember, I didn't even talk about intelligence, I didn't talk about genius, and I didn't talk about talents. I had to take all of those out. I was just deleting slides this morning because it was too much. We'll be here for 4 hours, and I'll be here, but most of you will go look at us. We're less than 100 now. We're over 200 before. So, Eric, that's it. The process of ideas generation can be structured. And that's a whole different webinar, man. There are about 5 or 6 different steps that I have. There's a 5 from the idea generation itself to the propagation of the idea, illumination of the idea, incubation of the idea, and there are different steps there. I can't go into that now, but maybe we'll talk about that ideas. What role does curiosity play in sparking your? Yeah, absolutely. Curiosity comes from flexibility of thought, divergent thinking. All right. Curiosity is divergent thinking. Look at that. Flexibility of thought allows you to engage with different people. All right. To have different experiences. Have different experiences. Go meet people. Go see people. Have just engage. All right. Engage with people. Be curious about the life of people. And it's when you get to know people, you know what their pain points are and how you can make a difference in their lives. All right, let me go on now. Any other one? Um, Thank you, Titilayo. Can you clarify between combinational and exploratory? Yeah, creativity. I'll just quickly mention that in combinational creativity, you're adding different familiar objects and you put them together. All right. I give the example of Blockbuster. All right. DVDs for rent, or Maybe people that rent out dresses. You have dresses for rent. That's a business. All right. You have a lot of dresses. You're into fashion. You want to rent it out, or you want to be a shopper for someone. You're very good at shopping for people. You know how to shop for people. You're very creative. Okay. Shopping, online business. You get your portal right. You can be creative about it. All right. So you create a website. Listen, or I'll shop for you, or whatever it is, however you want to do it. I'm just giving you examples of stuff that that you can do. And that's a business on its own. You can put the two together and you can do that, or home renovations, interior decor, whatever it is. You combine. That's combinational creativity. You're using existing structures, you put them together in your own unique way, and you're providing value. That's combinational creativity. Explorative creativity, on the other hand, you take something that is already existing, something that is somebody else's idea, and you just keep pushing the boundaries, exploring, adapting, changing, tweaking until you get something completely brand new. Okay, so you take an existing product, you can take whatever the product is. For example, this is a phone holder. This is a phone holder that I used to hold my phone. All right. Sometimes my phone slips off. This is so cheap, $20 on Amazon. All right. But do you know that if you just do a simple design, maybe stretch it this way or that way, tweak it a little bit, and you keep tweaking it, that's it. You can get something. You just email the design to somebody in China or travel to China, get them to fabricate it. You make 2,000, 3,000 or so. You make your money, you make profit, and you sell all over the world. Easy. Somebody designed this. All right. Does it work? Yes. Is it perfect? No. Is there room to change? Yes. And as the phones change, these things have to change. That is explorative creativity. All right. You take something, you keep tweaking it, adding to it, changing it, seeing how you can improve it. You can pick any product. You can pick any product and you just keep adjusting and tweaking and changing. Let me tell you a product that I got yesterday. Um, my wife came in my office. I drink coffee a lot, and sometimes I sip the coffee. When I sip the coffee, it goes cold. So you know what we do in the office? I have to go to the microwave to warm up the coffee, warm it up because I can't consume a whole cup of coffee all at once. So I have to warm it. Then our secretary told us, "Do you know this? There's a product called a warmer, a coffee warmer. Let me show you the product. It's in my home office here. I'll unplug it. Actually, yeah, I'll unplug it. This is the coffee warmer. My wife bought it yesterday. Let me get you the box. I just unboxed it. I didn't even know. Look at it. All right, mug warmer, coffee mug warmer. Somebody thought about this problem that I had. I only got this product yesterday. I don't know how much you bought it for, and I plugged it. Oh my god, I plugged it yesterday, and it would only work when your coffee mug is on it. When your coffee mug is on it, it goes on. My coffee was on for 2, 3 hours. It never went cold. It was warm. And so now I don't have to go 3 times to warm this coffee because I only sip. I sip for and then another 10 minutes, I take another sip. Another 10 minutes, I take another sip. Now I can have my coffee for 2, 3 hours and it will remain warm. And I don't have to, you know what? The solution I had before was to get all these mugs, all these Contigo mugs that would be like you have to, these tall mugs. Now I can take my regular mug and sip, put it on my. Somebody designed this. Somebody saw this problem. Do you know now I'm going to buy like 3 to make sure that all my offices have one? Because everywhere I go, I need a cup of coffee. My coffee mug warmer is there. Somebody is solving a problem. That is I've even lost my train of thought about this. Yeah, I'm really blown away by this idea. And some of you be like, "Oh, I didn't even know that I existed. I didn't know it existed." Now I've publicized it for them. They should pay me some royalties. Rebecca says, "What about forgetfulness in early 40s? Is that the beginning of the end?" That's a whole different thing. We're not talking about memory here. All right. You should go check my YouTube channel on, I think, Brain, Mind, and Change. I talked about memory some time ago. Let me just tell you something I tell my patients. This is not a medical whatever webinar, but I'll just say this to you. The most common cause of forgetfulness in the middle age group is inattention. And the things that are affecting attention: stress, sleep deprivation, anxiety. All right. Yeah. Those are the common things occur commonly. Now, some people may have genetic dementias or hereditary dementias that can affect them in their early life, but that's not very common. Most people will forget in their early 40s. It's just the beginning of midlife crisis. It's not the beginning of the end. They can always rebound. Let's move on. More questions. I'll just take one or two more questions on today's topic. No, please, more relevant questions, please. I'm not talking about headaches or stuff like that. Team, is there any other question? Oh, come on, guys. All right. I'm not talking about the morgue. If you want to know about the morgue, you can just Google it. All right. You can Google the name of the morgue. That's it. Sewell Coffee Mug Warmer. All right. No other questions. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here. All right. It's been a pleasure having you, and I hope you will connect with me in the future. All right. Make sure you get the online course. Remember the online course we talked about. Get the online course. You would find out very useful. I'll just bring that up again. The online course, the Neuroscience of Leadership and Peak Performance. So share the link of this YouTube video. Send it to your friends. If you have any young person who is trying to, birth new ideas and create new stuff, share it with them. They will find it. It's a long video. It will be a long video, 2 hours and 45 minutes or so, but it was worth it. God bless you. Thank you for being with me. Cheers, and have a good one.